Three, two, one. What is going on, everyone? Welcome to another Monday night, late night comic stream with your host RDV and his sidekick Ash. I am Ash. RDV, how you doing tonight?
I am doing good. Having no complaints here. I got a little heat wave going up here and up in
A heat
upper
wave. What's it
apartment.
up to?
Yeah. Let's see. That's a good question. It was before. It was 29.
It's up to 29, huh?
it's
That's like
uh
shorts weather.
the low of 23, but today was a high of 36, man. Actually no, 44.
Oh,
Tomorrow is
wow.
45. Wednesday is supposed to be a high of around 50. Thursday's 50, man. And then it starts dropping down again
Oh,
after Thanksgiving. But like I said, I like these little heat waves coming. It's like I there's no snow. There's some snow on the ground, but like the heat will just melt the snow.
right.
So it gets rid of the dry ice and all that
Yeah.
stuff. If there's anything,
That's the best kind
but
of snow is when it's still not super cold so that it can melt
yes,
during the day. Otherwise,
yep,
you just get that like, well, you're in Wisconsin, like that icy
yeah.
snow that just sort of like halfway melts and then
Uh,
refreezes. It just gets
it all
like,
depends. All
oh,
depends the way the weather goes to. Because if I get that lakefront snow, basically that's the lake effect, where
yeah.
the warm air and all stuff, it becomes slush, and then it's disgusting to drive in.
Oh, yeah. I remember going to Michigan in the winter once and just being like, "Oh, this is what a real winter is." I was in Colorado. I was like, I was all proud of myself. I was like, "Ah, I can handle snow now. You know, I'm a Coloradan," and I was like, "Nope, this is way
Like,
different."
I mean, one thing is having snow, and then they clear it away, but slush is like it's water. You got puddles everywhere. You're driving through. There's a dipping road. You're going through a puddle, and it's just snow everywhere. If you're not wearing waterproof boots outside, your foot's frozen. Um, like I said, like, I almost prefer snow because snow I don't have to worry about my shoes getting wet. But if it's a wet slush, yeah, it's ice cold, and yeah.
Yeah,
And
and I just
the one thing I'll say sucks about driving in winter, you can't wear your winter boots while driving. You'll die trying to drive with a little pedal because their boots are too big for the steering wheel, or not the steering wheel, but the underneath here. So I carry boots with me wherever I go now. I've learned that. I was like, dude, that does not work. But overall, though,
it depends. Like if you have those like,
yeah,
you must have had like those really big like snow boots.
I have the snow boots that go up to my knee because I
Yeah,
prefer to have warmth. Because you're like, it's like-
we
so
didn't quite need those in Colorado.
these are
I had a pair of like thermal boots that
yeah.
that were rated like -20 degrees or whatever. They totally kept my feet warm, but they were just on the outside. They just looked kind of like hiking boots. They weren't.
Yeah, yeah. I went to a military surplus store, basically,
Yeah,
and I got some what they use for like snowmobiling,
yeah.
or like would you say if you're going like like there's like these boots are waterproof, but they're not like waders though. Even though they had I was so they're ones I wanted to go up to your thighs. That would have been great to like just like if you stand outside doing something or just shoveling. I can still wear my jeans, not have to worry about anything else. But yeah, they're meant for like if you're walking in deep through the deep snow, like 4 feet of snow. But overall though, I recommend if you don't like snow, don't go to places where it snows. Or if it's gone with the next day, like like oh it's a low of 40, it's snowing, and it's 80 degrees the next day.
Right. Well, that's
Yep.
was Colorado was really nice, man, because it would dip down below freezing at night and then snow and everything, and then you wake up in the morning and it'd go back up in the 50s and sun would come out. And being the high altitude, even though it's not as warm, it feels warmer than it is because you get like the radiation from the sun. It's a really weird thing. People that are in the mountains understand what I'm talking about. And so it just melt the snow. It was real nice. So only really in the coldest parts of winter did you get the like snow that would retain, over the weeks. But I remember going to Michigan and just, being like a wake up call and it was like, wait, I thought snow was supposed to be soft because it's like
Yeah.
that
I
hard snow, and not because it was, like, packed in, but because it, like, just kept refreezing over and over, so it wasn't like powder anymore. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about out there,
yeah.
and I was just
I
blown
yeah.
away. Like, it was like, "Ugh, don't fall down, you're gonna die."
Like Austin P, I'm born and raised here, so I've dealt with it. Like I said, I don't. My driveway is a gravel driveway, so I don't use a snowplow because otherwise I have no driveway. Um, that being said, yeah, I could get a little blacktop, but blacktop is kind of like a ripoff because all you gotta do it every single year, at least or two, depending on what you're using. Because products are getting cheaper and cheaper, especially the real source. Um, but I use a snowblower, so I prefer the thicker snow, the actual snow,
Yeah,
because I don't
yeah.
have to worry about. Yeah, slush does not go through,
No.
and shovels are not meant to be used with heavy snow. They snap. You know.
Alright, yeah. Yeah, I don't know what you I but thankfully, I was just visiting, so I didn't have to deal with all the things of, like,
Well,
shoveling and stuff, but just I was
so
like, "I don't know how you deal with this because Colorado, it's
so
mostly just
yeah,
powder, which is,
yeah.
like, nice. It's like the nice snow.
It's just pure grade snow. It's like the street value of the snow is.
Yeah, it's not cut with anything. It's
Yeah. No, so like I said, I always cringe because we have like wooden handles, like oh, these are the lighter shovels, and then you're like because the problem is you either use those or you use the ones the heavier shovels. I'm like, why would I want to use a heavier shovel when it's already heavy snow? That doesn't make sense.
till
Well,
your
this
shovel
one won't
breaks.
break.
Right.
Well, your shovel won't break because it's got a steel rod going through the handle, you know. But like I don't know. I have some old school ones. They're like antiques now. You look at the old wooden handles with the bright orange, like the
Alright.
red colors. Yeah, those are like I'm like I want to hang these up. These are like antiques because they've never been used. Because now everything is like the cheap aluminum now.
Yeah, we did
And
what are you talking you see, in Colorado, we had plastic shovels. We didn't we didn't
well,
deal with none of that metal stuff.
it's because you didn't have heavy snow.
Right. It was just like, "Oh, look, it's 3 inches of powder, shovel it away."
Look, the wind
Nah.
blows it.
The only time, we had to worry about snow in Colorado was, like, in the spring when the blizzards would come. So, even when it's powder, if it's, like, 6 feet of snow, it sucks. When your car is buried, you're like, "Oh, that's a lot."
Austin B
Ugh,
saying lift weights, bro. That doesn't work. You can lift as much as you want. It's still a pain in the ass when your shovel breaks and you're like stuck with
yeah,
a long driveway.
yeah.
It's- well, I mean, yeah, and the best part, yeah,
Not to mention you're
is
freezing, you're wearing,
yeah.
like, all this bulky winter gear, you're
So
trying
you
not
start
to
sweating.
slip on ice. It's not like
Well,
lifting weights in a gym.
so
This is
here's the
totally
best part. The best part about this, remember, just because it's winter doesn't mean it's not windy. So you get
right?
drifts.
Yeah.
You're done, and then it just blows back. It's like I'm done. I'll wait till tomorrow.
Uh,
Like you could shovel your driveway and go to work, come back, and like you got like 4 foot drifts randomly throughout your driveway.
Austin says we're pansies. I'm not disagreeing. I am a bit of a pansy.
Austin, where do you live? Are you up in the snow areas, or are you down in where it's dry as fuck every
Well, he says
night?
he's only a state away from me.
He's like Nevada.
So that's either Nevada, Arizona, or Oregon.
Well, Nevada, they have to shovel the snow,
Hopefully
the
it's not
landslides.
Oregon. I guess it could be
Yeah,
Oregon. But
the land. I guess I'm trying to think. Nevada gets what flooding like Arizona
it
because
depends
you
on
got
what part of
the
Nevada you're
flats.
in.
Yeah, yeah.
Nevada's like one of those weird states. Like most people think of Nevada as like just total desert because Vegas.
But there's
But
mountains
but
too.
but where it borders California, you're right, you have the
Yeah,
mountains. So Arizona's kind of that way too. A lot of people think like Phoenix and total just, but you get Flagstaff and you got some mountain.
Arizona's just
There's
chaos.
some areas of Arizona where
Uh,
it's I can't tell the difference. Like if you just blindfolded me and dropped me there, I'd be like, hey, we're in Colorado.
oh, he's in Utah.
Oh,
He's in
Utah. Oh,
Utah.
Utah's nice. Uh, I forgot. I didn't realize Utah. I guess Utah does Utah border California? I don't think Utah borders
R-
California.
Right around, probably it's
Maybe it
north of it, isn't
does.
it?
I'm getting a little bit.
I gotta look at the map because I'm like,
Yeah,
I know Wyoming's there too.
it's not too far actually. I I drove to Utah a little while back. Um,
Oh yeah, he's just Nevada to the left of him, so he's not really he's not nowhere near border California. You got Nevada's in between you guys.
yeah. Um, no, Austin. I used to live in Colorado.
Yeah.
I moved away from California in the year 2000. I lived there for 17 years and then I moved back. So I was a total Southern. I was a total native San Diegan, and moved to Colorado. And thought like, ooh, look at me, I'm snow guy now, you know, like, and that's why when I went to Michigan, it was like they just bitch slapped me and was like, that's not real snow.
What part of Michigan did you go to? Upper?
Lansing,
Trying to think where Lansing is.
I don't know. It's all Michigan's a. I don't want to say what I think of Michigan because there could be people listening that are Michigan.
Eh,
I
if
did.
you're from
I was not
Michigan,
impressed with Michigan, um, but that is what it is.
nice little
Um,
city though. Looking at it must be downtown or around Lansing, but looking at it on the map, looks kind of cool. I like the buildings.
yeah, I mean it's got. I mean you're a Wisconsinite, so you look at it different.
I look at it as being
Probably.
like okay, so okay, I'm looking at that Michigan. It's you're in the middle. You're close. You're close. By the bottom, central.
I don't
You're
know. I
close.
just
Yeah,
went there during the winter and it was freaking cold.
literally, if you went like from Lansing and just went like kept going north across Lake Michigan, you would have ran into my where I am. So they're like, yeah, but
I guess I shouldn't really say my experience was tainted by just the
girlfriend.
bitter cold ice. Just it was just miserably cold. I was like, there's no way I'd ever want to live here. I don't understand how
and
people.
and the other thing is too is you got to take it just because you have the same climate as Wisconsin does, with Michigan, they're run by different people. So you be going
Oh
there,
yeah.
and yeah, you don't know what their snowplow situation and stuff. And it's
Well, I
like
had no idea
leaving
about the politics at the time. Now uh, from a distance, I look and go, "Oh my God, what?" But you know what? The thing
yeah,
that's weird though is a lot of Michiganders are really cool people. I don't actually understand why Michigan has the politics that it has. Everyone that I've ever met that's from Michigan seems to have a head on their shoulders. And then I see like what the state's actually doing, and I'm like, do you guys actually get to vote up there? Because how things are running doesn't match how I know the people. So I don't get it, but
it's probably back then. They realized all those people can't afford to leave or don't want to leave because they just love where they have. They have the land. They love
yeah,
hunting. A lot of stuff. It's just the fact that people move in and ruin it for you.
maybe. I don't know who's moving to Michigan. I think most people move out of Michigan.
Well, I mean, Tim Allen was saying, "Come to Michigan." You remember?
Uh,
So he showed off how beautiful it was, and then they
well,
got there
I'm
like,
sure it's beautiful. Yeah.
uh,
And if you're rich, if you're rich, like Tim Allen, like if you any place can be great. You know what I'm saying?
yep,
Because you get to live in all the nice places, that's another thing. Anyways, we're not here to talk about Michigan. I don't know why
yes,
we're get off.
yes.
Austin is the most talkative person in the chat. Welcome, Austin. Thanks for hanging out with us tonight. And he does call me out on my BS when I said in the chat I'm first. That is cheating. Austin, you are first. I give you the crown for tonight. Um,
Actually, I was first, but I let you guys comment.
you weren't first.
How do you
Don't make
know?
it. Don't be because
You
because I
don't.
was the one that set up the stream. It used to be impossible for you to be first.
Anything's
Uh,
possible.
all right. So, what's going on in the world of comics?
Uh, well, we had a great Jeff Johns. Some new books from last week, I believe. Stargirl
Oh yeah.
and the JSA Golden Age, or I guess the new Golden Age. No, once Stargirl was last week. The Golden Age, or the new one, JSA was the week before. Uh, it's been fun. It's you're seeing I guess a little bit of improvement in DC, but then you see the Megan Fitzmartins, and then you're like, okay, well I guess there's my goes my hope is gone already. Um, I don't know. It's there's not really much going on. I mean, it's the same it's been for the past 2 years or since COVID. Like you get sometimes you get some good stories, but you run into the same problem. And I agree with it on this is that there's no continuity.
Yeah, no
Right now
continuity sucks.
now they're talking about let's reboot the DC universe, and I'm scared because are you going to like mess with the books that are good, the few that are? I mean, I love Flash. Flash has been the consistently good book. Um, but overall, I mean, I'm afraid that they're gonna like we're gonna relaunch and just decide to go worse. That being said though, is being handled by Josh Williamson, so it's a 50-50 shot. But I don't know. Like I said, you got Mariko Tamaki gonna be in Green Lantern. I'll give it a chance. I liked her detective run. Um,
Well, that's one person.
yeah, yeah. But I mean,
I'm not giving that a
I don't
chance.
care what anybody else thinks. If I'm gonna give it a shot. That's my choice.
That's
That's
true.
cool. Yeah.
Ultimately, I mean, I am a huge curmudgeon. There's few people that are probably as well. No, that's not true. There's a lot of people that are. Those are the black pills. So I don't actually think of them as critics.
Oh,
Um, but yeah, I'm pretty hard and snobby, so I totally admit it. And look, if I hate something, but you genuinely, and not speaking you, but anyone in general, you genuinely like it, that's really all that matters. Um, we're gonna probably disagree, but hey, that is what it is. I mean, there's things that I like that tons of people hate.
there's older books. I didn't think they were that great, even though they had no woke policies
And
in
there's
them. I
some
just
of
thought,
and some of these things
yeah,
that I like are genuinely bad. Like
yeah.
I I usually get other people arguing with me when I say like Evil Dead is not a good film. Like I tell people,
How
and they go, "Oh
dare
no,
you
Ash
bring
is
that name
great.
up?
What are you talking about?" And it's like, no, it's not. It's not. It's
You must give up your
entertaining.
name.
I love it, but if it were just as from an objective standpoint, I would not expect that movie to make a ton of money. I wouldn't expect I would expect more people to hate it than love it. That's me looking at, but I find enjoyment out of it because there are things, and that can be the same way with a lot of things. And I mean, you go over there on the Extreme Movie Show, you know, I was telling you for the longest time about that movie Hawk the Slayer, and that movie is awful. But that's the beauty of that film. It's like it's
Well, that's
somehow
cool.
glorious in its awfulness.
And that's the thing. We reviewed Outlaw Gore and had Jack Palance in there, and it was an awful movie. Just like the first one, equally awful, but it was entertaining. It
Yeah.
had flaws. There's things they should have done. They could have been so much better. Like Jack Palance being the main bad guy, like he was in Hawk the Slayer. Instead, he was kind of this side character, and we're kind of upset about that. But overall, like I said, these are low budget films. Like was it Deathstalker? I think it was, or was it? Is that what it's called? Or Chrome's
There
called,
is a famous B movie
yeah.
called Deathstalker. I don't think
Yeah,
I've ever
yeah,
seen
yeah.
it.
Yeah, I've seen it either, but I mean, like, I don't expect it to be, like, over the like, insanely good and crazy, I imagine it to be cheesy. Kinda like how Conan the Barbarian was cheesy, but it still had a good storyline, though, and had good and acting is so-so. Like I said, I don't really go look like, Pixel's a big one. He's very critical over it when it comes to acting. I just want the story. Like Conan, he's cutting people, he's slashing people. I want to see people's heads fly off. I want to see that. I like, if you're doing a barbarian story, it's got to be barbaric, you know. Um,
Sometimes acting
but
matters because certain types of films live and die off of the performances. Like if you're
I agree with
watching a
you.
movie where it's like just two characters having dramatic interaction, that
Yes,
acting
yes.
is going to sell it to you. But if you're watching
But
Conan the Barbarian, he's
yeah,
fighting Thulsa Doom. Like you're not watching it for acting performances.
no, no, no. Exactly. Like I said, you're for the action, you're for the fantasy, the sword and sorcery.
Yeah.
And like I said, there's a lot of these movies like the acting suffers, but you know what? It's not the point of the movie. The point of the movie is just to have fun. Sit back,
Sometimes bad
relax.
acting can really take you
Eh,
out of a film.
Well, sometimes it can be great too, like Hawk the Slayer.
Hawk the Slayer. In Hawk the Slayer, yeah, doesn't matter. But like for example, when you're watching Bram Stoker's Dracula and it's surrounded by
Right.
all these amazing actors
Uh,
delivering massive, great performances, and then Keanu Reeves gets on the scene, and you're just like, record scratch. And I'm just
I've never
like,
seen that, but I know Annie Lennox did like a, or didn't she do like a song for it?
I can't remember. It sounds like that would be likely.
That's a Gary Oldman film, isn't it? Where he's
Gary
Dracula.
Oldman, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
I seen clips, but I never watched the whole entire thing.
oh, it's
It just
great.
wasn't my thing.
God,
Uh,
you're a vampire lover.
you know what I watched was I watched the other vampire movies came after. There was some Bram Stoker ones. There were B-rated movies, and I
Oh,
enjoyed those, even though they had bad acting.
yeah. So you
Um,
you should make an effort to see it someday because it is probably the best adaptation of the actual Dracula novel that's ever been done.
yes,
Um,
there's movies where bad acting and it's still bad and it ruins the movie, and that is well,
like
dare I say
Godfather
it?
3.
Well, I was gonna say Constantine. Somehow
Oh,
that's getting a sequel.
you don't like Constantine because it wasn't accurate to the comics.
I don't like it because it wasn't a good movie, even when it was accurate. It wasn't a great movie.
It wasn't great. It was entertaining. I like
Yeah.
Constantine. Most
Eh,
people
eh.
that aren't Hellblazer fans, that don't know anything about Hellblazer, tend to like that movie, myself included. Actual comic fans tend to be like, "Oh, the movie
I
just messed everything up."
I
It
wonder
was
though.
so
I wonder the people who basically who saw the movie first, loved the movie, went to go read the comic books, and were pissed off because they didn't like the comics. They thought it was bad. That's
that I
my
haven't
wondering because
heard. I haven't heard anyone
I
like that.
because Hellblazer is pretty heavy. It's not as heavy as Sandman is, with all its weird stuff. But Hellblazer had its ups and downs, and it's something you gotta invest your time into it to read it. It's not one of those you can just pick up and like, okay, now we're in the middle of it and like, okay, I understand where we are because it's just set up as I said, like it's one giant story.
Oh, Austin just tore Austin, my friend. He says, after reading the book and watching the Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula, I was wondering what the people who praised it were smoking. Dude.
Wasn't that
Well,
Dracula 3000?
that's a isn't that Wesley Snipes movie? No, that was
No,
Blackula.
no, that was the guy who plays Heatstroke or not Heatstroke. What's it? Heatwave on Flash. House of Legends. Dominic something Perel, I think it was. He played Dracula in that one. Group of kids go in the house and and they accidentally resurrect Dracula.
Hmm.
But I think he was though. But I'll take it back though. I think that same actor was in the third movie with Wesley Snipes, Trinity. He might have been the same actor in both movies,
That
or
could
I might
be.
be wrong. It's been a while since I watched him, but
Hmm. So
I'm
Austin
just
says it
saying.
doesn't deserve the title Bram Stoker's Dracula. Now, this is
Okay, Stokers, not Strokers. Okay, I was like,
stroke. Um, so I have to confess, I have not ever read Bram Stoker's Dracula the book. Um, I've the
you
writing
shouldn't.
is
Then watch Fright Night.
yeah, I have a difficult time reading old classics like that, the way the writing style is. But from what I've heard from people I trust, is that is the most accurate. And I remember when the film was being made, that Francis Ford Coppola was so determined to really adapt the film to the book because previous to his book, Dracula had never been really adapted correctly. Because the original Dracula film, like back in the day with like Bela Lugosi, I think was Dracula, didn't even like it wasn't even close. They just changed it completely. And so he sat down and he did admit that he added the historical lore of Vlad the Impaler because there was some historical stuff that he found fascinating that people believe that's where the mythos of Dracula came from. So he did add that himself, but as far as the story itself afterwards, he said he wanted to make it as accurate as possible to the point where he required all the actors on the set to read the book, and they actually all read it through together. Like they sat around a table and like read the book. And his efforts to try to make this film, and you can't ever adapt any book exactly one for one because they're just different mediums. So it's important to take that into consideration. You do have to make choices on how to do things. But anyways, I just wanted to confess on that. But I love that
Yeah,
movie. Like Francis. That's my favorite Francis Ford Coppola movie.
Yeah.
Or I should say, it's the movie. I think that's his best movie, and this is the guy that made Godfather 1 and 2. So that's a high praise from me.
If
Um,
you want to check out Count Bram Stoker's Count Dracula, it's free in Tubi right now from 1970.
I think I'll pass. Um, Also,
But
Austin, you have to admit that the soundtrack, if you love the book, you have to admit that soundtrack for Dracula is phenomenal. It's one of the best movie scores of all time, in my opinion.
I was going through looking at a lot of these the Dracula movies with Bram Stoker. It's quite a few of them. I
Yeah,
mean,
well,
Van
it became
Helsing
popular to
was one
do
of them.
that. I
Yeah.
think that those titles were appended afterwards, but I could be wrong.
There's Dracula Reborn,
I remember when
2012.
Bram Stoker's Dracula came out, it was like the first time it was like, oh, they're putting Bram Stoker. Like I'd never heard
Uh,
Bram Stoker put on a film until after that film
probably
came out.
okay. You want to talk about the one of the worst adaptions? No, of Dracula and stuff was Bram Stoker's Way of the Vampire. Came out in 2005. I watched it. It was one of those on the wall blockbuster. I was like, what is this? Because it's straight to DVD.
Right.
Yeah, it was not that great. But it's free on Tubi. I'll just say this: I watched it and it was kind of it was all right. I mean, the acting was bad, but in a horrible way. I kind of liked it. Yeah,
Steve Dale's in the house. He says, Yahoo. Yahoo
and
to
there's
you, Rusty.
Dracula's Curse, Bram Stoker's Dracula's Curse, which was out in like early 2000. Yeah,
Yeah. See, they
2006.
like put Bram Stoker afterwards because it's like all
Yeah,
those cheapy like sci-fi films that come out whenever like a big
it's
hit,
by Asylum. Yeah,
and they'll try
yeah.
to like make it seem like it's connected. You're like, dude, this is
I
a ripoff. It's
know.
not that. But they could put Bram
Yeah,
Stoker on anything, and you're like, oh, Bram Stoker's Dracula, Bram Stoker's this, Bram Stoker's that. Like, no.
yeah. It came out in 2006. It was but these are all Asylum films. So like take it as you want. I mean,
So
it got a 2.8 on out of 10 on IMDb, but so did Gore. A lot of these movies that get really low scores on IMDb, I've noticed that some of them were actually really good. So I don't know. I'm just a sucker for bad movies, I guess. But
So, in comic news, have you heard about the news that DC has decided they're not going to bring Justice League back? You heard
I
about
mean,
this?
who would write it though? Originally, it was supposed to be Joshua Williamson, I thought,
Doesn't
right?
matter. I mean, they're not. The point is, they're not bringing back the Justice League. So DC is going to semi reboot their universe. They're doing this new thing. What are they calling it? The DCU, the new
Uh,
the DC. I think
I can't remember what it's called, but
that's their new thing. Like they're the DCU. Like it's a new initiative, to be another milestone for DC. And so, okay, you're gonna redo and try to win fans back or whatever. Fine, but you're not gonna have Justice League. That's like Marvel not having the Avengers. Like it's just why would you not have a Justice League book? Uh and so the Justice League are being replaced by the Titans. So
well, I mean, as long as it's not the crappy HBO Max Titans, I'm alright with that. Because the Titans United and all that stuff, which is supposed to be advertising for the Titans in the show, the comic books have actually been better, way better than the show, but they're not as great as the original ones
yeah,
they
but
used.
here's the
But
thing. So in this Titans book, you're gonna have Nightwing is gonna be in the Titans. You're gonna
yeah,
have you're gonna have son of
Starfire.
Superman Kal-El.
Oh, I'm down.
You're gonna have you're gonna have the new Kara Floor Wonder Woman. You're gonna have I forget who they said. It's gonna some variant, someone in the Flash family that I didn't recognize. And my whole point on this is like, so basically, you're getting rid of the Justice League that everyone loves, and you're gonna replace them with the same formula. And that formula is a Batman character, a Superman character, a Flash character, yada yada yada. But they're just gonna be variants. They're just going to be legacy versions, and in many cases, the attempts to put the intersectional, version, like we got to, have the Amazon, because DC forgot what Amazons actually were. They thought they were from Brazil. We're gonna have, and you know what I'm saying? Like, it just, so you're essentially giving us the Justice League, but you're not calling them the Justice League. You're giving us the same formula, but it's just knockoffs and token characters. And that, I get some characters aren't, like Nightwing is an old standard. That's fine. But you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. I'm just shaking my head. Just like, DC, what are you doing? This is your opportunity to tell fans, like, we're sorry. We get it. Future State was dumb. You want the old characters back. Here you go. And then instead they're going, nope, nope, nope. We're not gonna give you that. Now I'm not a
Uh,
Titans fan anyway, but I respect them existing in the universe. I just don't think that that should be the flagship book.
well, after that travesty that was Titans Academy, horrible, horrible that was, focusing on them teaching kids, and these kids are just like horrible. And at this point, I'm kind of like, you know what? Let's take a break from these characters. Let's let them sit for a little bit. And no, but they're like, no, no, we're gonna push this new crap, and I don't know. It's just the point where I'm picking and choosing what I'm reading over DC. It's getting slimmer and slimmer. Eventually, I'll just go full indie. You know,
Yeah. I just I
yeah,
I'm just
or a full back issue.
To me
That's
it's just
yeah,
more of a, I'm shaking my head. Just like, what are you
yeah,
doing, DC? Like, I don't want any comic companies to fail. Like, I want Marvel to be good. I want DC to be good. I want Valiant to be good. I may not necessarily be a fan of all these comics, but it doesn't mean I want them to suck for their fans. Like, I want their
yeah,
and I'm shaking my head. I'm like, man, got Zaslav coming in, shaking things up in the Hollywood side. And it's like, oh, maybe we're gonna see Warner Brothers really start to take their IP seriously and devote to it. And then you got DC going, "You're just gonna screw everything up," and it's just like, what are you doing? But just, here's your opportunity. And they are doing some cool things, right? Like, they brought Jeff Johns back, and he's doing he's got a JSA. I don't know how long it's gonna be running for that, but you got that. For better or for worse, they're bringing back some of the Wildstorm stuff, which I've been missing for a long time. People are very happy with Flash. It's been going on. Batman is as good as it's been in probably 20 years. There's really good stuff going
yeah,
on at DC, and it's like, man, you're getting your house. Just keep doing this. Keep that thing you're doing right there. Do that
yeah.
more. do that. Do
But
that now to
now
Aquaman. Now, you know what I'm saying? Like,
my
do.
my
Go
question is,
ahead.
how long is Zdarsky gonna be in this title, and it's just gonna go? I mean, before because I'm liking Zdarsky's over more than Ram V's, but Ram V's is starting to really grow on me as the story progresses. It was a really slow start,
Huh?
but and you're getting with Zdarsky is just action. Every
Yeah.
single issue is action, action,
Yeah.
action. And that's more of my cup of tea. That's kind of why I kind of went away from, like, a lot of these books at Marvel and DC, because they just was more about, hey, I'm gonna come out and say I'm gay today, or I'm gonna protest today. I'm not
Right.
like there was just sitting around just doing nothing. It just got to the point where we're gonna talk. Next issue, we're more talking. A little bit of action here. So I said, like, last time I read a Batman book, that was actually like around this level of excitement was during No Man's Land. You know, like I said, I mean, actually, I take it back, because I know I'll say New 52 with Scott Snyder, Court of Owls,
Oh, yeah.
and
Court of Owls.
yeah, year zero, whatever. That's the last time I read a Batman book, and I was like, this is great. I tried reading the Tom King. Tom King, I just couldn't get into it,
Oh,
even from the
no.
very get go. The stupid superhero team, brother, like Captain Gotham, and like in his Gotham Girl. I was
Gotham
like,
and
what
Gotham
the?
Girl.
Yeah, I was like, what is this shit? Get this out of here. It does not belong. This is Gotham. The only cape in here is Batman. They don't want supers. If you want super, we'll bring Superman in for a team up. That shit annoyed me. Um, I read Tinian's run, Tinian, whatever you want to call him. It started off good. It was way better than what Tom King was doing. I praised it. I was great. And then towards the end with Joker War, and Joker War was all right, but after Joker War, it just got stupider and stupider. Regan Ghostmaker, Miracle Molly. The point where I was like, I don't even care anymore. Josh Williamson brought in. He took Batman out away for like for 5 issues. He went away to China. So that just so they could introduce Satan now and say, hey, uh, that Lex Luthor knows that Bruce Wayne is Batman. I was like, oh, really? And they did that in Titans too this season. It was revealed that Lex Luthor knows that Batman is Bruce Wayne. It's like, what is this shit?
Yeah.
Like, this is not the stuff that we want. Like, the whole point with Batman is his secret identity should be, if anybody should know about his secret identity, would be Amanda Waller. And what does he do in the animated series? Confronts her in the shower and he says, like, you can get to me, but I can do so much more worse to you. It's like, oh, fuck. It's like, that's what we want, like, stuff like that. But, like, I don't, Lex Luthor knowing Batman's secret identity, it's to me, it's just dumb. It's like Joker knowing his identity. Anybody knows it. I just we saw that with basically with the Flash, and that's one of the reasons why. And that's one of the reasons we do hate the Flash in CW. Is every freaking episode, you don't understand. I get you. I'm Barry Allen. Takes his mask off.
Yeah, I'm doing Barry Allen, seriously.
Oh, like I said,
Seriously.
there's so much wrong with DC. But there is some few things I can like, but it's getting to the point where I'm going back to back issues. And this thing that sucks about going to back to back issues, you gotta pay $2.99 for digital or pay $10 for physical. Because because somebody's like a certain character, it's their first appearance, or there's their third appearance, and they raise that book up. Marvel did this with Astonishing X-Men. Oh, you can't get issue 9 because that's up to $200. Why? Because the person's in a Marvel movie. Trades, like I said, trades are most of them are out of print. If you do get them, like I said, they're up in price. But I guess it's to the point where it's no longer a fun hobby anymore. Just trying to read the back issues too. You know,
Well,
um, the
now that you
speculators.
mention back issues, and I'm a sucker for deals on getting comics. If you just want to read and you don't care about having the physical book for their collectability or whatever, blah blah blah, digital is a good way to go, especially if you've got a good device to read on. I understand reading on a phone sucks. Oftentimes reading on your PC sucks. If you got a tablet, the good tablet is way to go. I actually prefer reading. I buy my comics physically and I stick them in a box and then I go read them digitally. But right now is a good time to get some digital books. Comixology's got some sales. One thing like here, All Star Superman, normally $30, $3.59. $3.59 for a 12-issue series, Superman. It's less than the price of one single floppy. So most people have Dark Knight Returns or Watchmen. But here again, under less than the price of a single comic if you don't have those, or for some reason you haven't read those. Um, there's other books here. Obviously, 100 Bullets is a popular series too. I can't vouch for them. Superman, All Star Superman, the Grant Morrison, Frank Wiley run. Oh, I think that was the one I just said. Yeah, 350. Why would? I guess there's a deluxe version. You can pay $1 more and get the deluxe. Um, Here's that Tynan run for those of you that didn't read. Um, Again, less than the price of a single floppy, you can get the trades.
Yeah,
And
it's
to me,
through Comixology. So you want to have like an iPad, right?
I read mine on iPad. Some people don't mind reading on a PC. I don't, so I identify with them when they go, "Oh, it sucks." And I'm like, "Okay, cool, I get it. Get yourself a tablet."
Yeah. The main
Um,
problem with the PC though, is they got rid of the panel by panel
yeah,
through Comixology. That's what pissed a lot of people off. Um, but yeah, like I said,
you
going
can still
through
do
an
panel by
iPad,
panel
yeah,
on
iPad,
mobile is still there.
mobile, yeah,
Yeah, so I
which
read
is
on
great.
tablet and it's yeah, that I don't I get it. I get it that Comixology's got problems. I'm not here to try to say Amazon did great things. Totally
And
get
this is
that. But
yeah,
as far as cheap, because you had mentioned, even digital books can sometimes totally get it. But sometimes you can find deals. And so what I do is I'll go through and find stuff and I'll add it to my wish list. And then when it comes on, a super sale, I'll pick them up at massive discounts. Um, so here's like a '90s rewind. You can get Batman Long Halloween for $3.59. Kingdom Come for 269. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna add that. I'm gonna buy that right now because this has been a book that I have needed to read for a long time, and I've put it off. So there you go. Now it's in my collection. The Animal Man series. There's a lot of stuff, and then this isn't even all of it. Actually, you can click the see more. If you like JLA, there's a lot of JLA stuff being offered. The Batman and Robin Adventures. I mean, less than $269. Now, I do get a discount because I am a Comixology Unlimited member, so that does reflect a 15% discount. But here is the thing. Someone mentioned in the chat No Man's Land. The entire No Man's Land series is on sale. $359 for one issue. A couple issues are $359. Some of the issues are $5. So just a really
Man,
good way to get a bulk, massive amounts of comics for cheap.
yeah,
I'm one of those people that I like digital and physical. Like I think of best of both worlds. Get the
I
physical
mean,
when you really want the physical, and then utilize digital for the times where you want to get just like lots of comics for cheap.
so
Massive.
I want my comic book store actually has the complete nightstand, where where the side of the book, the trade makes the bat logo. So it has all of that. I've been looking to collect those, but like I said, those are like $40 sometimes for those little trades, even though they're soft cover, which really annoys the heck out of me.
Yeah.
So I look at this, so I always calculate in my head. I'm like, this is how much I'm spending for physical. All right, am I gonna reread these more than once? We're just gonna read it and discard it. It's like, so it really comes down to how much I want to pay for it. But No Man's Land, I've never seen that really collected unless like it's in a hard omnibus. I've never
Yeah.
seen it. In one giant, one small several trades. There might be individual volumes, but like I said,
They
I mean,
are in yeah, they're individual volumes, but they're like $30 a piece, and there's like
I
6
know,
volumes.
I know.
So you're
So
gonna spend $180
it'll take you
to
two
get them
years to
all.
afford all of it and read all of it.
Right.
So it's
So
okay. Every paycheck I get, or every other paycheck month, when I finally get enough money to spare, I'll buy it and then I'll read it, and then I'm like, okay, I gotta wait another couple months. It's like,
the way that I look at it is like I like the things that I'm like really in love with. I like to have the physical copy. If it's an all-time great comic, got the physical copy. But there's lots of comics that I like that I want to read, but maybe they're not like my top 10%. And so I don't necessarily need to have the physical copy, but I can really enjoy reading them. And that's where digital is great for me. Um, I don't necessarily like these Epic collections. I wouldn't necessarily care to have the physical of the Epic collections per se, but I could totally look at this less than $4. Man, I could buy a lot of Epic collections right now. That's a ton of Spidey. Um, Man, Marvel's got that's 200 and some things in this. Let's see, a lot of Avengers Epic collections. Holy cow! You could go and spend a ton of money. Black Friday and Christmas is the best time for Comixology. You get these super super discounts. But yeah, I totally recommend get yourself a tablet. If you don't have a tablet, people, if you're a comic lover, I highly recommend and a big screen tablet if you can. Little 8-inch mini tablets or whatever, whatever, they're fine. I happen to have an old iPad Pro. It's getting long in the tooth, but it's got a beautiful. It's still got that Retina screen. It's 12.9 inches. Comics are bigger than the actual book, and it's super. I mean, crystal clear. Can read it in bed. I don't have to worry about my hands being dirty. I can take it with me. I have my comic collection. Oh man, look at all these Fantastic Fours with Doctor Doom on them. Oh man, these are new. I hadn't seen these yet. I'm gonna have to come back and maybe get me some digital books.
guys, we're ending the stream now, so you can buy his books.
Zach has showed up in the house. He says, "Evening nerds." Marania's here. Um, did you guys come from a different stream? I always feel like another stream ends and then people pour
I don't
in.
know what. Well, the past 3 hours, there's been no stream.
Oh, really? All right, cool.
Yeah, yeah. E and I we ended around like 9 o'clock in our.
So much. Oh, look at all this good stuff. Classic Thor. Anyways, sorry. So anyway, that's an option for people that maybe want to get some comics on the cheap. And
That's the thing. If you're just looking to read, you don't care about collecting, digital is the way to go. Unless I mean, especially if they're like less than $1, and the chances of and they're right there. The convenience, they're right there when you want to read it. You can continue it on the especially reading on tablet. You can pause and do it. Versus trying to. I mean, if you love hunting, going through different comic book stores around the state, around the country, whatever, looking for back issues, go ahead. You know, I'm the person I want to read now. I don't want to wait forever just to find that one. It's like because you try to try to read a story and then you don't have that one key issue in there because you can't find it. Doesn't set. I don't like it. I want to read complete a succession through. You know, but like I said, I mean, you could probably read that one issue digital if you really want to, and then continue with your physical. It's up to you what you want
you
to
can
do.
do that. Like I said,
Yeah,
I got sold. I totally understand the mindset. I remember having that mindset of like, no, physical is so much better. And then I got an iPad Pro and I have not looked back. I get to the point now where I'm annoyed because I read indie books and
yeah.
you can't get digital copies of some indie books. So I have to read it physically. And I'm like, oh, I got to open up the bag and pull the book out. And then because I care about the quality of my books, like I have to like treat them nice, and just be careful. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, but I don't know. I like that convenience. I like, especially with modern digital coloring. Now, old school newsprint comics, total different deal. I would rather read an old school newsprint comic physically. I don't think they transfer well digitally. But modern comics, the digital coloring, they pop on an electronic screen. Um, they just really do.
So there is one interesting news for those who love the more the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. For those who actually do watch it, you're in a special treat. Mariah Carey will be there performing Christmas songs.
All right, so you're giving me another reason not to watch the Macy's Thanksgiving parade.
I'm just I like watching the Macy's parade. So it's like watching NASCAR. You're just waiting for something to happen, like a balloon to get blown away or something. Like something's gonna happen. Like to me, it's like when I watch it and like, okay, I'm watching this, and like I have no idea who this person is. Who's this new cartoon character? Like I'm aging out, obviously, when it comes to the Macy parade stuff because it's a lot of stuff that pops on there. I'm like, who is this? Like Jojo Soea. I remember when she came out, like on there. And I was just like, who the heck is this little girl going around like supposed to be popular? Because it's I'm not a girl and I don't identify with 10-year-olds. You know, I don't watch it. So my niece explained like, oh, that's what it's like. Oh, okay, cool. I guess it's one you watch. But like I don't know. It just seems like they should for Macy's Day Parade they should just have Taylor Swift there every year since she never goes away.
Why does one even watch the Macy's Day Parade if you don't have TV?
Wait, you don't have a TV?
I have a TV, but I don't have TV. Like I can't watch live TV.
Wait, you don't have a satellite little thing,
Oh,
to watch normal TV
I've
like
been a
on four
I've been
six whatever.
yeah.
No.
I have to. I only watch streaming services.
Oh, I mean, I understand that. I
I've
mean,
been cord cutter for 15 years now.
man, my sister lives, like they couldn't have cable. Or they dropped cable. It's too expensive, and they had satellite because where they live is like in central Wisconsin, so it's kind of like Hickville.
Yeah.
They were that this was not even 15 minutes away from where she lives. They have spectrum and all that stuff, perfect satellite and all stuff. Where she has, it's like in the dead zone. so, so, so how they watched like my brother-in-law and my old niece and the youngest niece, those three like to watch baseball. They want to watch Brewers. They basically will stream it through her phone. Use her phone as a hotspot, and they watch baseball through that on the TV. They broadcast it. You know, joys of technology. But
Yeah,
yeah, I just
I'm
like
guessing the Macy's parade is probably streamed somewhere. I don't
well,
personally know. It used to be one of those
no,
things that you just woke up and turned
yeah,
it on and there it was.
yeah.
Um,
I mean,
I don't watch anything live anymore because it's just difficult. Like I just you have to. I guess you have to go find it. I know there's ways. Amazon Prime has NFL, so every once in a while I'd go to
I know
my
what. Yeah,
Prime thing and like an NFL
yeah.
game is playing and I'm like, whoa, what the hell's going on?
Well, you're talking. Yeah, we're talking about My Hero Academia on Discord. Said
Oh
you
yeah.
because you don't have cable, so I watch it on Adult Swim Saturday nights. You
Well, I
know.
buy them,
Yeah, true. Yeah, so they're only on episode 6
so
of the
they're
new
not
season.
okay. That's what I'm waiting
Yeah,
for the whole thing
be-
to be out and I buy
because
it.
it's well, yeah, it's airing. It's airing. What's what they start doing the dubs because they I remember it airs in Japan first in
Huh?
the normal language, and then it takes them like a week or two to dub it. You know, for each
I
episode.
think
So
My Hero Academia comes out like I
a
think
month
actually I
ahead.
think My Hero Academia has simuldubs because it's a
It
big
took
enough
like,
anime
well,
these days.
and I know why. Well, I know it's if the first episode it took about 2 weeks because me and Zach were talking about a couple weeks ago. I was like, dude, I saw like it was released. But the if you watched the normal non-dub, you could have watched it. But I like the English voice actors. I don't know. It's just a preference I have for certain animes.
Most animes I watch dubbed, and I'm not ashamed of it.
I well, except for Dragon Ball Z, I got sick of Chris Demo, so I said screw this, and I wanted to watch Dragon Ball Super, and it was taking forever. I had to wait like a year just for them, the actual freaking like almost a year and a half for them to dub it. I said screw this, and Shimo is a big liberal prima donna. I didn't care
Now,
for him
there
anymore.
are sometimes some bad dubs, and I will say, if you're gonna watch Attack on Titan, you got to watch that subbed because the dubbed, I wouldn't necessarily say it's a bad translation, but it's just the different energy. Like the voice actors just don't deliver because that story. If anyone's watched Attack on Titan, it's dark number one, but it's like really intense, like action drama where characters are fighting for their lives, and it's the acting performances are a big deal. And you watch the or hear the Japanese voice actors, they really add a level of intensity to it. And then
Oh,
I
that's
watched
true.
it
Yeah,
dubbed, and
they're
I was like,
yelling.
oh,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh, this I don't. It just felt cheap. Like it felt like you can't have that. I need that level of drama. I can't feel like it's a Saturday morning cartoon.
Dude,
It doesn't work.
the first time I started watching because I was watching Super early, I was watching with without the English dub and just having Goku Pyro. "Wah!" I was like, these guys are nuts. These voice actors, because I know Chris Chemo's part when he does it. It's like I can't stand his either, but it's like when I hear them, they're like even more energetic. I was just like, wow. It's like their voices have to be shot. Like
Austin,
like
I'm
those
curious.
guys.
Did you
Good.
Austin says someone tried to introduce him to anime through Attack on Titan and he couldn't get through episode 1.
You
Was it the
know,
English dub or was it a subtitled one? Cuz I the dub version was annoying. Like I was like, "Oh." But the sub, I don't know, was a major difference to me. I was really caught up into it.
Um, I didn't like Attack on Titan. I'm not gonna start watching it until I saw that Mikasa each season her boobs get bigger. I was like,
Now,
oh, I'll
and
watch
that
this
being
now and
said,
see
it still
what
may
the
not
reason
be
was.
your cup of tea. Obviously, I mean, there's tons of
It's a very
anime.
serious anime.
There's tons of anime that I don't care to watch either. And I try to tell people when I get people into anime, I try to tell them it's like everything else. Only about 5% is good, right? If you think about normal TV shows, most people have the shows that they like and 95% of the other shows that they don't like. Same with
Um,
books, same with
for
comics,
those,
same with
yeah.
music, everything. So don't think of anime as different. Don't think like, oh, I like anime, so therefore every anime is going to appeal to me. It's not going to be the case.
So I want to point out for those who want to give Attack on Titan a try, it's free. The first season, all 25 episodes are free on Tubi. It is a subbed English subbed. Check it out.
Yeah. It's gritty. Watch the dubbed or sorry, subbed subtitles.
Yeah.
I would not recommend that at all dubbed. Like I said, just because of the energy of it, it changes the whole atmosphere of the show, which is this dark, grim, gritty. It's almost like a war story, right?
It is,
Um,
that's one reason I couldn't really get into because it's very, very serious. I mean,
yeah,
I think I think I saw one example of like humor when they're eating food.
Yeah, it's not
No,
humorous.
and they don't. Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like Saving Private Ryan. It's grim.
Yeah, I like the comedies like Trigun, where it's comedy, and stuff, comic relief. I just want to laugh out loud. That's all I want to do.
Yeah.
I want
Well,
to
I mean,
LOL.
sometimes that's what you want. Austin says the
Yeah.
only anime he'll give a chance is Ghibli. Miyazaki, I'm a huge, massive Hayao Miyazaki fan, which is where he's the house. The Ghibli is his house. He's what built Studio Ghibli.
Um.
Um,
Yeah. So
how
the one I'm
every
gonna get. Yeah.
everyone should
Go ahead.
watch Hayao Miyazaki. If
I'm gonna give Demon Slayer a chance. I haven't watched it, but I heard it's good. People talk about that being like one of the better ones.
it's super
But then
popular,
again,
so
but then
there's got
again,
to be
people
something
said
to
that.
it.
Well, so was Bleach, and that was bad. So was
That's true.
Naruto. Couldn't get in
Well,
those.
those are also a lot younger. Um,
I'm watching Dragon Ball Z, man. Dragon Ball, they're like right around the same humor. There's Goku's an idiot. It's all meant for like 13 to like
yeah,
20 age. No,
I
but
find those type of animes hard to watch just because they have a kind of juvenile exuberance to them that when you become old and crotchety like me, is like more annoying than it is entertaining.
I
But
did like the Durara. I think is the other one. Yeah, that was pretty good. Some serious. I had a little comedy in there, but it was okay. But how about that? This isn't the anime channel. This is Ash. This is an anime, on channel.
boys on anime. No,
Eh,
we are here to talk about. Well, no, we're here to talk about lots of shit. Actually, I don't want to turn this. This is not a boys' show. Although we are.
It's a man
Well, I
show.
can't speak for Vankman. I'm a boy. Yeah, he. I don't want to assume his
Hi, little
gender.
Ash.
No, so there can be a little bit of misinterpretation that this is a show that's about the boys. We are heavily featuring the boys until we finish it, and then we'll probably have some other comic because we want something to anchor around. We can't always guarantee there's going to be something going on in comics to talk about, um, but we both like reading comics as well, so it's a good chance to read the comic. We invite you every week to read uh, the comics also. It's usually only about 4 issues, at most six
Yeah,
issues, and then join us on Monday so we can get to talk about it. I think reading comics is fun, but when you can share that experience with other readers and
yeah.
talk about these books and what you liked and what you didn't like or whatever, I think that really makes the hobby that much more interesting. And the bad thing about back issues is often you don't get a chance to do that. I think that's one of the allures of the new comics, and that's why there's a million channels of people talking about new books because it's like, "Oh, did you see what happened this month in whatever book?" Like people like talking about that and sharing it. But with back issues, it's like, yeah, I read that 10 years ago, whatever. No one wants to
Um,
talk about them.
the other, I'd say after we're done this, I'd be open to basically bringing back the book club. Basically, I would choose a book for Ash. Ash would choose a book for me. We read it and we review it on the channel on Monday nights. We encourage those who actually would like something like that. See, if you have a decent mic, come hop on. We'll get you on here. I mean, Zach, if you wanted to join, talk about a book that you're reading, and then or even just choose a book for that you think I would like that I haven't read, and I'll review it. And then, well, I'll just say this though: the fun part is that when you start choosing bad books, I won't like. I think sometimes that's much more fun.
Yeah,
But
that can be definitely fun. I do
but
like having to. I like being forced to try something that is might be a little bit out of your comfort zone, but because sometimes you find things that way that you're like, oh, I never would have gave this a chance before, and it turned out really
like
cool.
yeah, I give you that Vampirilla first issue to read from Harris.
Yeah,
Adventures of
I had
Vampirilla.
never read a Vampirella book in my life,
Yeah,
and I was like, this is really fun. I ended up
sit on
reading
that blue again.
the second part of the story too. I didn't
Yeah,
tell you.
cool.
Yeah, it's fun. I
I,
mean, I'm still not a Vampirella fan, but I got to experience like first of all, I made a lot of assumptions about the book because you look at the covers and you're just like, oh. So I was
exactly.
like, oh, okay, it's more of a standard comic. Um, and it was very fun, and I do enjoy that, and I like being able to now I can talk a little bit with you about Vampirella, not much, but at least now I have some real hands-on
You get an
experience.
idea what I like about the character, the core stuff, because a lot of
Yeah,
it's changed since then, and since Dynamite got a hold of it, you know. But I don't know. Like I said, I once we're done with this, I said I'm more open to talking about other books. if you guys have some suggestions of books, maybe in the chat, you think that we should read and review, you know,
Yeah,
and if you want to hop, yeah,
I
want
think
to hop
once
on
we
with us,
finish The Boys, we'll sit and
yeah,
have a round table and decide what how to tweak the direction and things that we're doing. Um, but we still got a ways to go through this, so we should just trek on through it. Zach
and
says
yeah,
if he knew we were talking about anime, he would try to hop on. I don't remember you getting an invite, buddy. You can't just invite yourself. I kid, Zach, I kid. We're gonna talk about The Boys though right now, though.
Zach, I would not invite you, but go ahead.
Hmm. I would love to have you on, Zach, but we're gonna talk about The Boys. Speaking of which, Boys is on the screen. You want to jump right into it so we
Might, might as well. You want
could
to share
finish
a
this
little screen?
before Tuesday night, before it becomes Tuesday night late night comics?
Are you kidding me? It is Tuesday night.
Oh,
Sorry,
well,
Tuesday morning.
I
It's
meant on the best coast.
oh, the best coast. You know, it's 1:19 in the morning. Oh, you mean the Hawaiian coast?
Hawaiian coast. Hawaiian coast is not best coast,
All right, so
but neither
share your
is
stream, like yeah,
yeah.
share your
We're in the
stream
weeds. Let's go.
so we can review this. Overall, first impression I'll say on this overall this arc. A lot of bombs going off here, and not in a physical sense, more in the sense like reveals about the plot, about Homelander, about Rayner, the director of Rayner, or director of the CIA, Rayner, stuff about her past. No Huey in the book, which is all right. Um, just overall, it was just kind of cool because I mean I have idea what these characters are. I mean it's the first read for me. I've watched the TV series, so that's what I know of these characters, and I like seeing some of the stuff that happens in these books that actually like oh it wasn't just like a new thing for the show because sometimes they do that they change characters so much where there's nothing it's nothing to do with the comic book. So it's kind of cool like there's things they do with the Sarah like Homelander. I'm glad where it's actually taken from the show, or I mean not taken from the show but taken from the comic book. So overall it's a this is a book, and instead of talking about judging books by their covers, this is a book never probably would have read, you know, unless we did this. Not
Neither.
saying it, I didn't hate it. I wasn't put off by it. It's just that I'm going through the Garth Ennis books, you know, as I'm reading more Garth Ennis. So I'm learning to more appreciate him as a writer. I've read his Punisher Max series, read the first issue of his Hawk the Slayer sequel, awesome. Um, you know, Jennifer Blood, read that. So like I said, like I'm just excited to read more and more Garth Ennis stuff, and I don't know what I'm gonna do. I need more Garth Ennis after this, bro.
No,
I gotta wait
right.
till March to
We'll
read the rest of Hawk
become the
Slayer.
Garth Ennis show.
Why not? I'll say I have to change my name to Wayne. Ugh,
I didn't get it.
Garth and Wayne.
Oh,
Wayne's World party.
that was a stretch. That was really reaching.
Yeah. Oh yes. I mean, I'm surprised the old guy didn't get it. The kid.
It was such a stretch. I was like, the Garth Ennis show? Like, um, now this is
Garth.
a story called Proper Preparation and Planning. It's a four-part story. And why don't you take it away and give us a synopsis of the first issue?
All right. Synopsis of the first issue because they're not. I'm telling you right now, they kind of blend together for me. But this is based them talking about you know, about what's going on with the Seven. They talk about Huey, a little bit about that. Just kind of, I guess, just trying to, I guess, work past it. And yeah, I said Frenchie, Huey and Frenchie talking about hey, there's stuff that we know about. Something's going on was revealed. In issue 47, right? 47 was last week or week 4.
This is
But
48.
they know that as far as Frenchie says, we saw them. They're planning something. You know, as far as the sun goes, we saw Homelander fly with a bunch of superheroes. Uh, what is this connected to? And so Butcher says, you know what? Just go review the tapes, you know, watch stuff, you know, and yeah, find out, do the research, do the work, you know, don't worry about it, you know. Mother Milk and Butcher decided to have a conversation then. about Huey, about everything else. But but we get to see what in the next panel. Let's see here. The next page is Homelander is kissing butt a lot, and this is the new basically the guy taking over for Edgar's assistant. The girl here, she's taking basically his job, and he's gonna go to somewhere else. And so they in first introductions, and he's pretty much just kind of really nice. We see we see that Black Noir is in his little plane being getting instructions on how to fly it. Like, what the hell's going on here? Uh, it's
There's
so
a
that's
comment
all we know
that's
so far.
made about like flying lesson. Does he
Yeah,
know how to fly his own jet?
yeah, yeah. Probably years they've been doing this. He doesn't know, but because when it's revealed later in the series, though, that it's in the comic book issues that in the comics he's supposed to have a jet, so they're trying to keep up appearances with that. Basically walking around, she's getting the lay line of the facility because she's gonna be in control ahead of the supers. He's kind of and this other guy would call him, well, you call him Mr. Blonde, but I forget what his name is, but he's distancing himself from this thing because he doesn't want to be caught in the blow up. He's got other plans. And then we get to see Butcher and Mother Milk Berry basically explaining it, that hey, Butcher saying like, I didn't push you, and he admits, the whole thing was Mel Chemical. That was my fault. I shouldn't have put him in there. But he left because of the slapper, aka Starlight. I was like, I had nothing to do with that. That's him. He did it on his own. And then they kind of like this kind of sit there, and he's like, and he's like, hey, look, for future reference, if you have a problem with it, don't do it in front of the other guys, nutters. Basically referring to Frenchie and the female. Trying to keep morale up. But then at the end, we get a plot twist here. Monkey is taking over as the new CIA director because Raynor is stepping down in a month.
Look at that shit-eating
And
grin. He
I
just
know.
he just
And
relishes in telling it like I'm the new
for
boss.
for following up on him, Bill Beck on a monkey. Monkey has a thing for handicapped women. He's a pervert.
Yes. We'll get to
Yes.
that.
So here we go. They're like, and this is the question is like, because it's like, why is he learning how to plane? Yeah, the whole thing here. But then the guy's like, okay. He's like, well, he's like, like the instructor. He's like, are you getting at this? And he's like, and she's like, are you right? He's like, that's kind of the $1 million question because I've been working with him for 3 days now, and I have no idea what the hell he's thinking of the word it said. But then he fires the freaking artillery round rockets, and I love how freaking Homelander's like, what's going on here? It's like, and he takes off, and yeah, he does this, and then we see Black Noir getting out of the plane. It explodes, and she's covered in the body of the flight instructor, and yeah, it's just like you see Homelander. He's been kind of kissing ass. He's kind of like, oh great, that's what we need, more bad PR. But yeah, it's more with Monkey basically rubbing it in. He's going to be the new director, and he's like, "Oh, there's a lot. You guys, the funding, you guys haven't been really producing much, So you ain't filling out the proper forms. Just be the Uber dick. He's basically becoming like Walter Peck
Yeah.
in Ghostbusters.
Yeah, that's
The son.
a good analogy.
It's like, you know, now I'm in charge. Stuff. Now I can do things my way. You don't like it, you can, kiss my ass. And so we see, Butcher's not having it. So he's like, and then you see that woman here basically too isn't taking over. She's just freshening up her makeup. She took a shower, get all the blood off of her. First, I was like, "Who the heck is this?" Then I saw the purse, blood on it. But
Yeah, so this is
yeah.
uh the new girl.
And then she's taking pills too. I noticed that too. She's popping pills. Probably Xanax or something.
Yeah,
And
probably something.
yeah, it's because
I mean,
she's like, yeah,
that's stress you'd have to go through in this job. Just
yeah,
well, I mean, well, let's go
yeah,
back. I mean, what she just went through as well.
yeah.
Like, look at
And
that. Come on.
that's that guy's body. Like his half his a leg there. There's another foot there. She's covered in
Yeah.
that guy's guts. Yeah.
Keeping your cool under in those conditions is like an insane amount of mental
Yeah.
stress.
um, so then she has a conversation about the whole thing is like, she's like, how is like, is this a really good idea? You're spending money on a guy who doesn't know how to fly a plane. And he says like, well, it's kind of like expected, because we kind of try to explain it away. Whenever they see him riding on the deeps, deeps carrying him, when he's supposed to have a plane and can fly. And I love her idea. She's like, well, why don't you just drop that? It's wasting money. You know, it's like he's like, yeah. So it's like when we get back, he's like, contact Red River, cancel my requests for both aircraft and a pilot. And yeah,
Yeah, so she's basically kind of asserting herself with some ideas. He's
yeah,
warming up like to letting her have some autonomy, um, which is interesting, I thought, because he's up to this point been the man in charge. Like he
yep,
says everything and she's asked questions. And we've seen before where he's had people like, why don't you do this? Whether he's like basically like you're fired to get out of here. Like but there's something about her that he likes.
either
Um,
his either it's respect or he is basically letting her make decisions so he doesn't have to deal with it.
yeah.
He's kind of like stepping away from it. And then we get to see basically Frenchie saying, you know what? How about you and I, female? How about we just go away together, run away? Don't have to worry about any of that stuff. And I wasn't sure, I guess if she's saying no or what, because is she shaking her head or what? Then I see,
Well,
then she leans over.
Frenchie tells her like, you know,
Yeah,
uh, we should go away somewhere far and honest and under the sky. And if the need arises in you, there's me. And he's like, I'm strong. Perhaps I can endure where the others do not suffer, so that others don't suffer. Because remember, she's got that violent streak where she has to
yeah,
like
yeah,
take things out. And so he's
yep,
basically like, you can use me as your punching bag. And she's like, no, no, no. Um, so
yeah.
that's how I took it at
Okay,
least.
okay, all right, and that's pretty much how this ends. This first issue.
All
Uh,
right.
Best part for me right now is, I guess, the scene where with Homelander just kind of like when the guy when Black Noir screws up the plane. That's kind of like my favorite scene so far.
Yeah, like all Garth Ennis, well, all the boys issues, like there's always a lot of setup. So this issue was very much laying the foundations. The big keys here, I thought in the beginning were with Butcher, basically is like letting the boys know we're gonna take on the Seven, um, type of thing. And they're kind of worried that Huey's not around. They're like, really? Are we gonna like we're gonna do
Go
this
through
without
this,
Huey?
yeah,
Like we're a man
yeah,
down? Like and he's like, can't be helped. And like all of these books so far, things matter. Like the setup will come later. And I don't want to talk about it because I don't want to spoil like not that I want to wait till we get to the issues, but these scenes
yeah,
I didn't understand. You don't understand how important some of these scenes are until you get to the later scenes. There was some comic uh comic relief, that's the term I'm looking for, with
yeah,
Monkey. I really kind of enjoyed the scene here on the left hand page bottom, where they're just like he's just giving him the once over, and he has this part here where Butcher's like trying to talk to him, call Monkey. He's like, Director Kessler. What Director Kessler? Director Kessler. And Butcher's just like, no, can't manage it. Not even a little one. He's just pissed off, so he leaves, and Butcher's just like, I am a broken man. Just I found that funny. Like that's kind of
yeah.
that humor.
Yeah. At first, I thought like he was gonna come in and say like, Butcher, now you're in charge of everything here. And like, we're cutting ties with you.
Yeah.
That's I thought was gonna happen. But then they went like, oh, and it's just like, nope, nope, we're gonna make Butcher get angry.
Um, I thought this was a sweet moment. This artist, unfortunately, is not Derek Robertson. I'm annoyed that every time they get these fill-in artists, but this scene here where
I
Frenchie's talking,
didn't. Yeah, I
I
didn't
think
notice.
I think this last second to last panel is Frenchie somewhat like happy that her response, because he's like, you can use me essentially as a punching bag, and her reaction I think makes him happy because it's a way of her expressing to him that she's fond of him, not necessarily romantic. I'm not, but just
Friends, she,
like that,
the family.
that she values him, and so I think Frenchie feels good about that because I don't speak French, but I know merci is thank you, so he thanks
I,
her.
I, did you see how big her bowl of ice cream is there? And then she reaches over and grabs his, a scoop of his.
Yeah,
I was like, I was like, what?
yeah. Um. So yeah, that was issue 48. Now on to 49. Proper preparation and planning part 2.
Look at the toy plane.
I know it's cool.
It's broken. It's broken. All right. Do you want to take this one, or do you want me to do it again?
I can if you want, but
Um. All right. So we're starting off with basically Homelander having a mirror conversation. Yet what? Yeah. So those who watch the show, he talks to himself in the mirror. He's starting to slip a little bit. We all know from previous issues that there's photos of him like ripping babies in half and just doing all this disgusting, cannibalistic murder, just disgusting crap he's done. And starts talking to himself in here, and his mirror self is basically calling him, "Hey, you're a weak little man. You're a little bitch. Like look at you. You're going around, flying around. You're kissing ass to the not VP, but the bot guy." And it's like, and he's like, "What do you mean?" He's like, it's like, I'm not really doing that. It's like, and he's like, hey, even mentioned the photos, and it's like, it's like, and I love how he basically like, uh, Homelander, the rational side is like, I guess the baby side, he's like, you're like a kid acting out. You're not real. You're not a man. You're having a temper tantrum in front of daddy, because you don't get your own way because you won't man up, And like just like this whole thing is like, I love the facial expression because you see him looking in the mirror, it's the same as his face. You know,
yeah.
especially when yeah, when they cut, they see his, yeah, like at first I thought he's hallucinating, but it's actually him just talking to himself and seeing his own reflection. His reflection does not morph at all, which I'm kind of thankful for. But do you have something to say about this?
No, go ahead. We'll
All right.
get to it at the end.
Yeah, so then yeah, basically yeah, he calls him a little pansy. It's like, yeah, the first tradition of the method Bravo. Like, he's like, yeah, he just gets upset. And the part down there you see is that, well, they're watching the tape right there. Eliza's a live feed. And they're like, oh shit. So like, um yeah, so I mean, I think there's even a mention though of I can't remember. Was it that when he's talking? Oh yeah, you're blaming yourself. Somehow you blame yourself for what happened to Butcher's wife. It's like you have no how, but how you're involved because you can't remember, but you blame, but you feel guilty about it, and it's just like, okay, so that's a big drop right there. Homelander's involved with Butcher's wife death, so we don't sort of really don't know how or what, but and he's just losing it. So I'm just like, oh my gosh, because now I'm like, after seeing those photos, or we saw him destroy a plane, didn't care. We saw it, especially at Hairgasm. What's gonna happen with him? All right, so then we get to basically we have Butcher, who's kind of drifting off. While while uh while Mother's Milk is basically trying to hack into the Von American, do some research stuff. Butcher starts remembering, I guess, with Mallory. Does it take it? I can't remember what this is, but
Yeah, this was a confusing page to read at first because I didn't understand. But after I've read it, I understand the context. These word balloons. They're not attached to anything. Think of because they're like voiceovers. So
yeah,
you're looking at present day boys, but you're hearing uh, dialogue from a past event,
yep,
and then the red bordered panels are the past event,
yep,
and it just continues into that. And yeah, they're basically just having a discussion. There's a key scene part where they're like a special forces team doesn't leave without orders. They were supposed to deploy back here um, to watch us out on the ice, and they're like, "Man, this place is flooded. It's all dark. They can't see anything. What's going on?" And then they realize, like, "What's that smell?" And they're like, "Where's that team?" And they're like, "We're standing in them." And then it's like, "All right, someone get the lights." And then it cuts.
Yeah. He's interrupted, and there we go. You're like, here, page 89. He's like, oh, sweet Jesus, Yankee, because goes back to Monkey. Remember, Monkey is a thing for women in wheelchairs. So this is how they're gonna get. Butcher's gonna get even with Monkey. You know, Monkey's gonna be there. He's gonna get him with his pants down
Oh,
and
you're
some
you're
sort of black belt.
you're revealing the hand too soon.
I didn't read anything. I'm just saying that's what it is. That's what it is, and that's what that's what he's thinking. 'Cause when I first read this, I said that's exactly what I thought. Because he hates the fact that Monkey's there. He's not going to deal with Monkey, calling the shots. So he's gonna get some level. He's gonna level the playing field. Back to base here, we see if you're watching more in a live feed. We see the Frenchie and the female are watching. Basically Homelander just kind of like just still having a meltdown. And it's like yeah, because right here you get the comment right there. You see where Frenchie looking. He's like, and come to that. What about the wife of his? Oh, you figured out how you did something. You're responsible for her death. For the life of, but for the life of you, you can't work out how. You've been racking your brain about it, and like it's just like it's like insane, you know. Yeah, and so that's where we get the whole thing right there, the reveal. Yep.
Sorry. It's not as this program I use for the comic viewing is it'd be nice if I could just double click on a panel, but um there we
But
go.
yeah, this whole conversation there is like, it's like that is your big truth bomb right there, to your first reveal. You know.
Well, it's a big deal because the panel before it starts the conversation, he's talking to himself, these things you're so proud of. How come you can remember doing them, but not the things that you're doing in Butcher's photos?
Yep.
And then and come to that, what about this wife of his? Oh, you figured out you did something. You're responsible for her death. But for the life of you, you can't figure out how. Now, keep in mind, if you haven't seen the show, this would be a shocker to you because we kind of are like, oh, okay, it's like the show if we've seen it. But the comic didn't have that at the time. It was all original, so we didn't know that Butcher had a wife and she was involved. But furthermore, the big point of the reveal is that Frenchie and the female didn't know. Like they're
Well,
being
Butcher's a
privy to
very yeah,
information that Butcher hasn't shared with anybody.
yeah. Butcher is very secretive when it comes to personal things.
Yeah.
And I'll just say this: is if you think it's gonna be like the show, don't expect everything to be like the show. Because whatever we know right now, all we know
Oh,
is
it's
his
not.
wife's
Yeah.
dead. We don't know how or what, but but overall, like I said, I just love the expressions on this. This really captures a guy losing it, arguing with himself, and even worse, it's just someone's witnessing it.
I like the
And is
last
this the
line there.
yeah.
This is
I like
stupid.
this.
I'm not mad. What am I going to do next? Invent an evil voice for the parts that I don't like hearing? Which is funny because that's what they
Yeah.
did in the show.
So I wonder though, like, how long has this been going on? Him talking in the mirror. And they just is this the first time that we're learning about it, or is Frenchie and them have been knowing about it, or
It's the
or has
first
it
time
been going on?
Frenchie's figured it out. They've
Yeah,
known.
yeah, yeah. But I mean, like, how many times before this? Is this like this because they've watched and they saw this, or has he done this multiple times before and nobody was paying attention? The
Well, we
camera
know that he's
watching
done it before because of Herogasm.
a little bit,
Yeah. So we can presume that he has these episodes.
but overall, like I said, it's one of my things I like about Homelander. Crazy. I
Yeah.
love the mirror
He's
conversations.
he's definitely off kilter. But there
Yes.
is like the interesting thing
So
is he recognizes like he makes these comments like
yeah, that I'm not
that
saying.
I'm not gonna do give him an evil voice and like where he was about to punch the mirror, like he said like, oh, that's it, a sane man, punch your mirror. Like so while he's talking to himself, there is like bits of rationality. He's not just totally
Yeah, yeah. He says like so he's like
last two
he's
panels
like,
there are big key
yeah,
panels.
yeah. He says like well, yeah, very well
Where
then. I'll be rational.
whoops. Yeah, he's talking about the pictures. Like the pictures.
Yeah,
Once you investigate this plan of yours, what are you going to be doing when the butcher shows them to the world? And he responds, well, at that point, he'll be too late, won't he? I'll be the king of hell. And that's like really ominous. He's like, because that basically means that Butcher doesn't have the leverage that Butcher thinks. Like, he's like, you know,
yeah. So then we get to see the female and they come and Frenchie. They come there like they're gonna confront Butcher, but then he chickens out. Doesn't tell him about that. And but then Butcher kind of like kind of scolds him. He's like, "What are you doing here? I told you to watch the cameras." It's like you need both of you guys to come in here. She should have stayed in there and continued watching. While you came out to talk to me. And they kind of like they know about the whole thing, and they kind of feel like how do you approach someone?
right.
And they know this is they know how Butcher is,
Yep.
and it's a very sensitive topic. He's confrontational. So they kind of like sit on it. I wonder how long they're gonna sit on it though. That's my question. Um, and will Butcher find out that they know, or they confess, or will you find out through somebody else? It's like. But overall, we get to see the basically Mother Milk putting some. They learn that there's a new person there. They learn they heard they by he got into basically using the old password again. Was able to get into VOD because VOD has horrible security. It lacks. And he discovered, he said like, hey, they had an accident the other day. They had and there's intercepted something about person. Her name's O. Uh, and they don't know if it's who it is, but they all know this person is taking over or something like that, or like a new person running things. Uh, you know, yeah, and then also they say it's like, yeah, it's an email. Also, placement instructor request canceled, cancellation confirmed. Placement for what? It's like they don't know. And at this point, they don't know if especially because we know about that Vought guy is being replaced, but is this a replacement for a flight instructor, the plane, or what? Because I took it for as a plane, but it could be also because cancellation confirmed. So
Well,
that's
they're
what
talking
my
about
take
how they
was.
canceled the flight instructor.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
But MM makes a interesting question. He's like, how does a dude
yeah,
who's been flying for over 30 years need instruction anyhow?
yeah.
Which is a little questionable to me because we hear that in one hand they make it sound like that Black Noir wasn't actually flying stuff and that was just in the comics, and so they were trying to teach him to fly so that he could have a jet like the comics and blah blah blah. I'm like, okay, all makes sense. But then when MM makes this question about dude's been flying for 33 years, like I'm like, wait a second. And that makes me kind of wonder, like, is this like a new black? Like, I want like, did there like an old Black Noir, and like a new Black Noir, maybe? Like,
Did he
because
take? Did
we've
somebody?
never
Yeah.
seen his face. Like, no one. So it's
Did he
very
replace
possible
somebody?
that there could, yeah, like I'm saying, there could have been a different person as Black Noir, and they've just he died or something happened. He's been replaced. Like, it's just making me think like there's something's amiss. Like, something's not adding
Well,
up,
yeah.
and I don't know what it
We
is.
all we all know there's a mystery. Black Noir.
Yeah.
How he salted Huey. Now we're learning like he's not who he is. He's supposed to be. Well, who is he? Who is he? And if he is the same guy, did the guy forget how to, or what? Or like, what's is it a new person under the mask? You know,
Yeah.
because
It's
you
a
said he's
weird
never.
thing for that to be in the book, and Garth doesn't just he doesn't write fluff. Like, he doesn't just write to fill balloons. Like, this matters. We just don't know what yet.
It's like Ash when he starts liking things that he used to hate before. We question it because we've never seen his face. This is a voice
It's true.
modulator.
That could be a completely different Ash.
2.0. So basically, they have more conversations about the whole thing as far as uh he says like you'll be taking on more. This is your office. He's like, wait, this is your office. He's like, not anymore. He's like, and she's like, where are you going? He's like, oh, I'm going to DC. She's like, oh, of course. the responsibilities, like, well, it's like, well, just basically pay attention to financials, finance and stuff, and just yeah, keep it. There's like, and he says like, I don't need to tell you, there's only one person you need to keep an eye on. Pretty much, they're all compliant. It's Homelander you need to keep an eye on. So then we see basically, well, as we saw, two pages before, we saw Butcher was leaving after talking to Mother Milk. He's off to see Monkey. He's on a train, and I love this woman, this Karen. Is like, "Excuse me, but why does my man have that?" And he's like, "Homeland Security, man." She's like, "That's it's all I'm authorized to say." You know, I love that she's just kind of you zoom in, and she has a really grumpy, pissed off face. How dare he have that beast or animal on this? I said, "You're on a freaking train, man. The dog's not bothering you." You know, but I love this. You know, he's like, yeah. He's like, all right, there, mate. And I was like, you set the last one out, didn't you, son? He's like, well, yeah, I left you behind. Maybe I had a feeling even then. You know, what the fuck do you mean? Maybe, or maybe not. No, or what
Again,
he
we
says
get
is,
the
yeah,
it's like a
yeah,
flashback.
yeah. The Mallory.
Well, it's a voiceover. Yeah, Mal. So
Oh
this
yeah.
was a little bit confusing because they didn't they
Tell you
didn't
what
give
year
you
it
a
is.
visual cue to show you that they
Yep.
went back in time. So what you're reading here with Mallory, obviously, is this is before Huey joined the team. Mallory, so on. So it's several years prior.
Yeah,
Um,
this goes back to the hangar thing story. They're basically he's pitching the idea to confront the Seven. We have the photos. You know, let's do it. You know, and the guy's like, oh, why would I? You know, you think I really? You don't even take this serious? Why would I? He's like, oh man, like you know damn well I've done the work. I've been coming to you, busting my ass off. You know why I'm serious about this. We have a good chance. You know, settling things. You know, and like and he says like, well, what happens if we go to meet them? Which version of Homeland are we getting? The psychopath that did this, or are we getting the docile? You know, kind of like mild mannered one. So,
and a big key of
so
this scene really is to kind of lay home like that Mallory, when he recruited Butcher, made a promise to Butcher that there would be a time where Butcher would be able to get his hands on Homelander, but he just had to basically do the work first. Like, and so you're kind of led on to this idea that Butcher's basically been doing this whole time because of that promise, and that's I think a really big key here for these two characters' relation.
here
And
we
then
go. The
go
setup
ahead.
where they're gonna go meet with the Seven. They're at basically the Twin Towers. Uh, Looking at it first, I didn't realize that it's what it was until they walked out. I was like, oh my gosh, they really had it because I keep forgetting that the Twin Towers are in this, still standing.
Yep.
So they're meeting on top of the Twin Towers, and so basically it's like you get a conversation. They're asking is like, Mallory's like, what happens to Bucks? He's like, well, and then it ain't our problem. No.
So
Uh,
if you've been remembering for those who are remembering, like going back to the beginning of the boys, there's a story where they reveal like that lamplighter was like a sacrifice made to
yep,
the boys for some sort of peace offering, and they basically killed lamplighter, and we didn't really understand why. We knew there was a peace, we knew that there
yep.
was some fallout between the boys and the Seven, and that lamplighter was sort of like the not the scapegoat, but like the peace offering where it was like, here, you can have this guy. And at the time, what you're seeing in this here is Butcher's plan that he's pitching to Mallory is essentially like they were trying to get that the whole time, but the plan was that they would throw Homelander as the peace offering, like that Vought and the Seven everyone would just sell out Homelander, and that was the big old plan. Obviously, we know from the present day that Homelander's still around, so it didn't work, and that's kind of what this is all setting up. How that plan came to be, what was going on in their brains, like before they met the Seven. Um,
This
it's
point,
a
all they
lot of
know,
dialogue.
yeah, up at this point, they got dirt on as far as the 9/11, what Homelander did on the bridge. So they had they're like, oh, that's all they know about the Seven. They've never met him before.
No, and the photos.
You know, yeah, the photos of what Homelander did. Yeah, it's like the whole meeting is about basically, hey, we have evidence, but and they kind of come to a truce, like as like they said, like Vought's like, yeah, it's like, uh, you know, right now, how about we do this? We can continue where we are at stalemate now because we admit that there is basically a superheroes, that and our program needs more basically work on it. But Lamplighter doesn't like this. He's like, "What do you mean they're holding this shit anyway? I got crushed ribs, just trying to save that plate." And this, they're gonna pull that shit through. And then he's like, and I love how Mallory's like, "You should control this man." This kind of talks right over him, which really pisses off Lamplighter. So, but before he could do anything, Homelander puts his hand on. He's like, "Oh shit!" So they leave, and then I love it. Like Mother Milky's like, "Unfucking clench," and Frenchie's like, "Indeed." So he's remembering the past and all this stuff, and there he's in the present there, and he's seeing, So they're all flying away. But then Lamplighter, because a dick, he's like, he doesn't sit well with it. He does a mutiny, acts on his own, blinds everybody, and they're all what the? Yeah, I said they're all pissed off. They're like, "What's going on?" And they have no idea where he is. He's like, and even Jupiter guy or Saturn, what is it? He says like, "I'll like let him go." He's like, "Man, it's like he just needs to scream and all. You get like a little fucking bitch for a while. Forget him. You ain't gonna have a problem." The pain he's been for the last few months. Who the fuck knows how many meds he's on? He'll come back tomorrow and then he'll eat all the shit you want him to. You know. So then we see down there. It says like the West, Gate, whatever tower or whatever it's called.
They're exiting
Um,
the
yeah,
twin
yeah,
towers,
building, yeah, yeah.
and
And you see
Lamplighter's flying
Lamplighter's
down.
watching them on top of the building as they walk out.
Oh yeah, he's on the roof looking down. Sorry, not flying.
Yeah,
I didn't look at that
yep,
panel close enough.
yeah.
Yeah, you can just see him. He's just like, he's got. So yeah, we all know from the story that Lamplighter eventually gets thrown as a sacrifice. So we know this is not going to end up well for him, but we're kind of getting be privy to how this all happened. Um, this issue really like picked up a lot of things. There's a lot of just like background information to like weed through, but that was some of the stuff I really liked here. The whole Mallory stuff, this whole plan of like getting the seven, a lot of like 4D chess kind of where they're like, okay, we can do this, but then they're gonna do that, and and a big huge bluff, and the whole unclench is the boys. They don't have necessarily the raw power to stand up to the seven. A lot of what they have to rely on is leverage. And this is what I think makes the tension build is we know that if a Homelander, we're starting to see him crack and go, nah, fuck it. I don't care about this leverage anymore. To which means that's going to be a throwdown between the two. And we could see that Mallory and Butcher were like kind of like, okay, they got a poker face, but but MM and
Well,
Frenchie were just like like stressed out because they thought there was going to be,
yeah.
they were going to have to fight.
Yeah, we know. Yeah, at this point, before all this, we know that Lamplighter was killed, sacrificed. We know that Mallory quit the team because something happened really bad. Went south. This whole meeting
Yep.
thing went south. That's all we know, and we're getting information on this. Like I said, like my favorite part still is that just Homelander, man, just talking to himself, fighting with himself because he's upset. I mean, I love the whole Mallory with this, and just calling him like, you should control this man, and like, it's just kind of talking down to him, talking over him. I don't care about this prick. Just ignores everything he says and says like, you should control this man.
Yeah. I like the
uh,
Mallory character. He's got the balls of Butcher, but he's a lot more controlled. Um,
yeah, he's self restrained.
yeah, a lot of
Oh
restraint.
yeah,
He's almost kind of like the Butcher's equivalent of the Mr. Blonde, like in a way. Um,
he's like Clint Eastwood. Man's got to know his limitations.
right. There's a really good line here where Butcher's explaining, like, when it comes to VOD or any corporation outfit, really all that counts to them is profit. They send their kids on planes built by the lowest bidder. They travel on the fucking things themselves. Company jets or first class, they still go on them. Safety costs. Money's God. And it's
Yeah.
showing how Butcher understands like the corporate mentality
Nope.
that money is all that matters. Everything ultimately is expendable. And there's some voiceover that goes on afterwards like so if you do get sent proof that your number one earner is mad as hell. You, and you, well, it's like you, you don't do nothing until you've got no choice at all. You hang on, you keep him earning. That's suicide to anyone else. It's good business sense to the lads like them. The second thing I forgot was Mallory, what it said about a wild card. So in this whole planning, they were like, well, what about a wild card? They got everything figured out, but like there's always a wild card. And then that's where that scene goes, where Lamplighter is the wild card, and no one could have expected this. Um, but this was a fun issue. Like I just liked, even though I kind of knew how things would ultimately play out, getting those details filled in, I thought was pretty fascinating. What about you? Anything else stick out in this issue for you?
Well, yes, those two things. There was Mallory, filing information on him. Um, this fact that Mallory was actually the one we saw in well, our last one, High Laddie. I mean, I want more information on that and what you know, going forward.
Well, we know,
Because right
yeah, we
now,
know that Mallory at
yeah,
least is alive still,
yeah. So I mean,
right? And so
I want more with that. Um, maybe I guess he's just a nudge to get him back to go back and telling him to go back, with the boys. But overall, I said I just love the fact that it's like the boys were kind of like they were told to go meet with them, then leave. But Lamplighter is the dick, and I'm surprised, and you can see how he's kind of afraid of Homelander, but then he pulls this shit, so it's like now you can understand, these at this point. I would have thought that they would all be afraid of him, but what he says about it, he's like, we don't know how many meds he's on. That's why he's not afraid of Butcher. He's crazy. Or not Butcher, a Homelander, Lamplighter. Because most of them are out there,
it's
like,
also remember this is a flashback, so it's also
yeah,
possible that Homelander hasn't done anything
they they haven't
extreme.
seen the photos. Yeah, yeah, I
Well, no, what
guess
I'm saying is everyone we know, like all the rest of Seven, is scared of shitless of Homelander, but they know what Homelander did to Lamplighter, right? So they have that perspective of like, oh, we could be the next Lamplighter. Lamplighter doesn't have the perspective of what can ultimately happen to him. So he's, you know what I'm saying? Like he's acting out because he thinks he can get away with it. The current
yeah,
seven go, we saw what happened to Lamplighter. We ain't fucking around. That's my take.
yeah. But he's also off his rocker too.
Well, yeah, I mean, a lot of them are. I do like this cover of the issue 50. This is a pretty cool, like an homage to issue number one, but instead of Huey, it's Mallory.
Yeah, well, because remember, yeah, he was the original guy with them
Yeah.
boys. Yeah,
So I like that they recreated the same
yeah, the original
concept
cover.
of
Yeah,
the cover. Yeah. So on to part three of the story. Opens up with a bang
does it? Yeah, more like a
or a
punch.
punch.
So it's like a sneezing.
Oh, can't be
Ah,
sneezing on a stream, man.
the third one. Someone's talking about me. All right.
Oh,
So we find out right away. It's like something happened. He says they were 12. Oh shit. So he said he didn't get to live. The animal just slaughtered them. So right away, you're like after seeing that conversation, you saw that Lamplighter was watching them. Mal actually happened, and the Lamplighter killed somebody that basically close to Mallory. Uh, he said in the yeah. So basically, even Mother's Milk says that fucking Lamplighter followed us yesterday. It's like followed Mallory's daughters in town with the twins, and And he said, and I love, he's like, I love how basically like Butcher's kind of brushed off. He's like, dude, he's like, well, is there to know if you're still fit command? He's like, what? He's like, what do you know about command? You were a buck private. You never had a rank of any kind. He's like, oh, but it comes to it. So I'm a fucking general, mate. And it's like, yeah, general. It's like it's a whole argument between those two. And this Butcher kind of like just keeps he's a rational one. He knows that what's his emotional. He's like, and he says like, "And Vermin, into admitting we got atrocious. It was all your guy." He's like, "You talked me into." He's like, no, you let yourself get fouled." And yeah, now you know what it's like to be a Lusoan. And he's gonna punch you. He's like, "Don't. I let you get away with the first one because you're upset." He do the same to you, and I'll take your fucking head off. Like it's just like you lost someone you really care about, but you don't give me any of that bugs about you're the battalion. I've seen enough officers crying crocodile tears about the lads they use as cannon fodder. And I love how he does. He puts it right in there because he knows it's true. Because he says like, it's like I talked to you, and you said I talked to you in it. That's bullshit. And you really made me work. Or yeah, you always are so sure that the lamplighter was the things kind of was a weak link, but he said he was a pussy compared to the rest of the team. The way you used the carry on, you couldn't want to get stuck into the seven, or could wait, could stick it to the seven. Yeah, yeah. So basically, he says like, we followed your lead, man, and now the moment's here, Connell. So are you still keen as you used to be? He's like, that's the
This
last
was
time.
cold, brutal
Yeah,
Butcher.
yeah.
Like
Butcher, honest Butcher though.
he's honest but cold. Dude just lost
Yeah,
his
yeah,
kids,
yeah. His
like
grandchildren. Yeah,
grandchildren. Yeah, two daughters, like or grand like 12-year-old kids. Like,
yeah,
and
twins.
Butcher just doesn't have any emotion. He's just like, and I think that's what sets Mallory off the most is just like,
Yeah, the
what the
legend, and
hell?
then yeah,
But Butcher is kind of right, because he's like, do you deserve? I deserve to know if you're still fit to command because yes, you did suffer something heinous, but you are in charge of essentially a military operation. The generals don't get the luxury of
falling apart.
that falling apart when something like that. You know what I'm saying? Like everyone else gets to, but that's the price of being the general.
You're
And
the
I think
leader.
this is
Up to
almost
you.
kind of like Butcher telling him, "I'm a general." Like, and there's so much going on here, in my opinion, and this scene. I think there's like an analogy or a metaphor rather of a son growing up to a father and asserting like that he's now independent, and the father realizing that he doesn't have control of his son anymore. There's
Yeah.
that. I think the whole uh, commentary on leading and what it means, and sending people to die when you've never had people you cared about die yourself. So
So
much going on.
yeah, so we get basically the when it comes to like the legend calls on the phone, and he's like, it's Maeve. She wants to meet pretty much, and they so only Butcher goes with him, Mallory. They talk to him and like and yeah. So she says like they sent me over so they sent over somebody new. And this is where we can hear about Mr. Blonde. He's the new guy. Watches every move, and she's like, I'm just disgusted. He watches everything. He's so calm, and yeah. What is her exact? I can't remember the same as her exact words, like uh, the words are, he says like, he walked in, told us to tell him all of it. Told us he's, he's calm, he's polite, he's everything. He said everything's going to be all right. The way he said it was like a bus conductor announcing the final solution. The words are mundane
This
but the
is the
meaning.
introduction. She's basically
Yeah,
describing that Mr. Blonde has taken
yeah,
over.
yep,
Before
yeah,
they weren't in check. They didn't have this guy. And
yeah.
now he's come in, and she's like, "Oh," and how she's basically describing like how calm and collected, everything that we know about him. She's kind of giving it at that perspective, like, "Oh my God, who is this guy?"
Yeah, so basically she says, yeah, the lamplighter admitted what they did, said, and she talks to him. He's like, oh, you know what we did? It's like, and like to put the win up Homelander in the first place. And it's like, and she's like, at the time, I thought I had to do it had to do with 9/11. You obviously, are not. Yeah, obviously you got something else. So you feel free to keep it yourselves. Vought said we had to go through with him. With him, one mention of that fucking day, and we shut up and we got moving. But when I saw two of you stand there, I thought I was going to puke. And this is where Legend says, like, dude, they ain't interested in you, kid. She's like, no, really. It's and obviously Mallory's like wants to know how's everything gonna be all right now. Like, he killed Mike, She's like, look, no one knew that the guy was gonna do that. And I think they want to make it up to you. He's like, what? Whatever it is, you seem they want to basically want to avoid a confrontation. There's something about establishing a status quo, a living with it, and then working on it. So basically, this is setting up the whole thing where we're now with the deal with the seven. This is how we came to, you know. So yeah, so then they get this little thing, like a little hangar stuff. They're meant to go meet with the seven, and when they get there, we get that infamous scene with the hangar there, and he's like, he's like, "Yeah, boys, what do we say we get down to get on the business?" And like, because there's, he's like, because that's what he says, like, wonderful, they've all pissed off all the soldiers. Special Forces platoon does the pull out without orders. They're supposed to deploy back here. Watch us on the ice. Place flood or something? The fuck is that goddamn smell? The guy's like, oh, I'm gonna do whatever. Mallory, let them. Okay, okay. He's basically says, I believe that we're standing in them. All right, someone find the fucking light, and then you're like, pretty much. You see, like, like that's the whole thing. The demeanor with Homelander. He's like, what do you say we get down to fucking business? They're studying a pile of blood, hanger. All those those guys are supposed to be their backup. That's what's left of them, the blood.
Yeah.
There's not even body parts. This is
So they
blood.
arrive at this airport, this old airport,
Ah,
and they're going to check on their Secret Service detail that's supposed to be their backup. They were
yep,
supposed to meet the seven on the ice. The seven are already there, unbeknownst to them. And so when they're in the dark and they're like, "What the hell's going on? Like, what's this going on?" And then someone hit the lights. When they flip the lights up, page 2 here is what you see.
yep,
And it's like they flip the lights up. Not only do you see like, oh shit, everyone's freaking murdered and it's just blood coating, but then the seven is facing off. And Homelander saying, "What say you get back down to business?" You're like, "Oh shit, it's on."
yeah. And obviously Maeve is upset. She's disturbed by this. And Mallory's like, you did this? He's like, mm-hmm. Well, he's like, she's like, you could barely cope with a half a dozen ragheads on that plane, and you're trying to say you did this without him firing a shot. He's like, well, we learned a lesson from that. At least I was like, we learned a little lesson from that. The episode. Those was certainly concerned. Yes, with you barely a mile way out there. So we had the Red River use nerve gas first.
Red River is the
The secret
Vought
A, yeah,
infiltrators into the Secret
yeah,
Service.
yeah. You see them stand behind them. After it was easy, well, not exactly. There was a certain degree of physical effort, but yeah, it was plenty of time. He's like, you savages. Actually, he's like, actually, it was just me, solo effort, but others definitely played their part. They did an excellent job of holding my uniform for me. Did he kill all of them naked? Like, what?
I don't know. That's what it kind of sounds like.
It's like, what? Yeah. He's like, oh, so you're talking like you come up with this yourself. He's like, not important. We're making a point here and helping you see. You know what truth about September? You know the truth about it. You have other material, but you should understand that all that will only take you so far. And never mind your certainty, certainty of basically of your own deaths. Look at what you're standing in, and then extrapolate it. Basically like threatening. I was like, we could do this to them. We could do that to you. But we're told to basically we're told to be playing nice. Now, and because the guy started this shit, with here you go. Here's a present. Now, all you gotta do is take him, leave us alone. We'll leave you alone. We admit there's faults in the superhero program, and we're not gonna go forward with it now. It's on break, but a temporary pause. And this is all you're getting, like it or not. Of course, the players there. Mallory takes him. And Butcher's just pissed off because Butcher wants
Wants
wants to take he
Homelander.
wants he wants Homelander, and he's stuck with this
He
shit.
doesn't give a shit about Lamplighter.
Yeah, like exactly. He wants the big dog, you know. So that's yeah. So obviously that's Luke right here. He's like, yeah, if you're gonna kill him, just do it somewhere we'll wash up you if you don't mind. I think you can. Here, you're right home. And the butcher's just staring at him. He's a problem. He's like, and he's look at see the woman's hand. You see him there. His wife died somehow. He's covered in her blood, her guts.
Yeah. That's
That's another clue on how his wife's dead, and and he's covered in her guts. So
and he's having to refrain. Like he
yeah,
wants to just kill,
kill him. Yeah,
and he holds it back.
and he's so pissed off. He sees him, the hanger on the plane home. It's like really, we just get over with it. You're making a freaking speech, just kill him. You know, and then I'll let you take over this part.
So we cut back to New York and park bench. I'm not sure if it's the park bench. I have a feeling it
It could
is,
be.
but
It is.
um, and Butcher's asking Mallory how his daughter's doing, and he just says, well, if she ever talks to me again, I don't. If she ever talks again, I don't think it'll be to me. Um, and so they're just having a conversation, just about like the aftermath and the outcome, um, and basically Mallory kind of expresses to him like he's out, like I'm done. And the CIA is not getting, not going to back him anymore, and it kind of like the boys are going to essentially be done too.
Yeah,
And Butcher's just like, what the fuck?
yeah.
Like, I stood by you all this time, and you promised me 15 years, like blah blah blah. We're gonna, um, and then we had Homelander right there, and Mallory is just like, he would have killed you. And Butcher's like, yeah, well, there's a part of me that wouldn't have given a fuck just to spend 1 second with my hands around his neck. That would have been, well, instead, we end up making poxy fucking deals. And then Butcher's like, ah, shit. And he starts to starts to like come to grips and accept. He's like, I was never going to get a go at him, was I? And Mallory's like, what? He's like, you knew that they'd never have the bollocks to go for it. Basically, it's the biggest corporation in the world, its biggest asset. Like Butcher's just starting to like wake up to reality that
Yeah.
that that was the case, and he
He
basically
says,
accuses Mallory of like all you ever just wanted was a pit bull,
yep.
which is kind of what Butcher symbolically is, and so he starts to say something, and this is a big scene for me. So he starts to say, Butcher, and Butcher's like, fuck off, or I will bury you next to them two little girls. To which Mallory's like, oh shit. And he starts to walk away, and then he's like, Butcher, you said you wouldn't have cared if he killed you. But what about us? And that was like a big moment. I was like, what about us? I was like, oh shit. Because if you go back to the first issues,
Yeah. Yeah.
he's basically telling his team, like, oh, we're taking on the seven, da 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 da. And you can see that Butcher has, in many ways, become Mallory to his team.
Yep.
And it was just like, oh damn. Um, so this looks, I believe this is now back to the present day. And Butcher is with his dog trying to take a taxi. There's some cute little lines, and
He says no pets. Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't really understand this last page here where he's sitting in the taxi and he just kind of crunching his face. And he's like Mallory, and then he flashes back to a scene where he's talking to him. And he's like, "We sorted then." He's like, "Magic," and then he says, "Oh, you heaven, or oh, you sneaky fucking cunt," and he starts to smile. What do you make of that? I didn't understand, like, what's he realizing?
I guess. Maybe he's realizing what you realize. That he is become Mallory. I was like, oh shit, I'm pretty much filming the new Mallory.
Why does he think Mallory's a sneaky fucking cunt?
Well, I mean, I guess because he's just saying it's like I don't know. Is it in the end? Mallory got the last laugh. I'd say
You
that's
know?
what I gotta think of. Yeah,
Huh. Yeah, I'm not sure how to understand this scene. But what else in this book? Um, anything you want to talk about for this issue?
I like the fact that we're seeing a different side of Maeve. We're
Oh
not just
yeah,
seeing
that
her
was a
going around
cool.
here, not seeing her just going around having sex and all that stuff. We're seeing her become more insecure. And then she says, "I had to fly. I had to fly through the whole plane of people. Once you people on the plane realized they weren't going to save, I had to fly through them just to get out of the exit of the plane, covered in like paste." That was the other thing I saw with that too. It's like, yeah,
Yeah, that was a big confession for her
uh,
to talk
oh,
about
it's
that.
like yeah,
I also
sister,
like how she
yeah,
explains
yeah,
how she's drunk all the time because that allows her to kind of get away with doing stuff because the seven just kind of write her off as a drunk.
yeah. And well, she said, "I am a drunk though." That's
But
the
she is
thing.
a drunk like that. Yeah, she doesn't pretend to be drunk, but she kind of
She's an
was doing
alcoholic.
that to I don't know, I guess I almost took it like she started off doing that so she could get away with whatever, but then, of course, alcohol you can't control alcohol, like, alcohol will eventually
Well,
control
and
you.
that's the reason. As I said, when she says, it's like I had to fly through them, and just covered in her body and stuff. It's just like no wonder she drinks. She started. It was a coping mechanism. She started drinking, but then she just kept drinking, kept drinking, kept drinking. To the point where no matter what time of the day it was, she's drinking, and that's how it works with alcoholics. Because you're addicted to that, and she just wants to forget. You know, you said, can you imagine being covered in body parts and blood and guts, and you left all those people to die on the plane.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah, that's
she's never gonna be able to let that go.
she probably doesn't even sleep. No. Yeah, yeah. She's like, it's a totally, I just, but I just, it's like, yeah, so now I drink all the time. I'm going to be drinking even more. Some of bitch is dropping in on us, and I have to look in his eyes. You're talking about us, like we're some kind of ultimate enemy, but you ought to be talking about him. I hate this shit. I just want to live inside myself. Just curl up and die, pretty much, basically, what she's saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Sylvia Russia, you become alcohol.
Yeah, this was a really cool issue, a lot of drama. I like the Butcher, um, and, Mallory stuff, like, we talked about the lots of commentaries about father and son, general and private, just um, a lot of stuff going on there. The Maeve drinking, yeah, was a big deal. You get a good side of her.
Very, yeah.
You realize that not everyone is a sick, twisted, evil fuck, right? Like
Well,
Maeve
it's
is
so
not a good person. Like she was part of that. Her sin is really kind of being weak and not standing up against it, right? And I think that she kind of represents the sort of evil of complicitness, like signing off, right? Like it makes me think of like Nazi Germany, right? Like there was the
yeah.
evil people in Nazi Germany, like Hitler and Goebbels and Goering, and like the guys at the top of the food chain that ran the country. But do all the millions of people that just went along with it, just your everyday your neighbors and stuff like that that like called in the secret police on their neighbors because maybe their neighbor was Jewish, so they like do those people get a pass? Like a lot of people went along with that because they were afraid, right? Like the Nazi regime, like if you didn't fall in line, you got sent to the camp. So a lot of people
Well,
were like acting out of
yeah.
fear, not because they were actually evil and believed in it, but at some point, what point is that line cross where you're acting out of fear becomes no excuse, right? And that's kind of where Maeve represents for me, where I don't think that she's truly like evil. I don't think
No.
she wants to do any of this, but at the same
Which
time, she's so
I
out for her own skin that she will do those things, and you're like, "Damn, like,
Yeah.
how do I feel
So
about her?"
yeah, he says like I'll go back. I want to see what point out. He says Butcher's in the bottom left panel. He says all that sounds like to me is you want to go back to your nice, quiet lap of luxury. He's just like, oh Jesus, do you think I'm going to argue with you? He's like, I'm not worried about the seven asking where I am. He's like, I'm a drunk because I'm a drunk. Like I come and go all the time. It's like he's like that fucking plane. Once the passengers knew they weren't getting out, they tried to keep me aboard, to drag me down into the dark with them. Hands, just dozen of hands, hanging on to me. I had to fly through the crowd at the door, and when I was out, they were all over me like paste. So I drink all the time. I'm going to be drinking even more. It's just like she is so, and not just her. This whole issue, it's all about being human emotions. Everybody going through the worst tragedy stuff. We got Mallory, we have her. Uh, it just it's
Right, but you know what I'm
human
saying? Like,
emotion. Yeah, yeah,
if she was actually a good person, she couldn't save that plane. It was, like, not physically within her power. But remember, I believe wasn't there a person that I mean, it might be confusing the show, but wasn't there a person that was like, "Take my child"? Like, she could have
yeah.
saved one person, but she didn't. She
She
elected
was,
to let everyone
yeah.
go down so that it could be covered up. That was the whole thing. The story mattered
She
more than the lives. If she were actually a hero, she would have saved one person. She would have mourned the losses of those she couldn't save, but her conscience would have been at least clean because she knows it physically wasn't in my power. I did all that I could, but she
she
didn't
don't
do
under,
anything
yeah,
that she could. She
yeah.
helped Homelander cover it up.
Well, she's afraid of Homelander.
And she's afraid of
Maybe.
Homelander. Right. I don't think she did it
Yeah.
because she's like, haha, Homelander, we're in this together. No.
No.
She's absolutely doing it out of fear. But like I said, that I think it's an interesting social kind of question. How far is too far? How far does fear go before it's still like that's not an excuse? Like how many people are you allowed to murder out of
She
fear before it's like
if
you don't get a pass anymore?
if she was brave, a brave person, yes, she could have tried to save one of them, but that person still would have died, and she would have died too. She did the math, and
Right.
and then at that moment, you have it's do or die,
Right. And
and
that's what I'm finding interesting is it's not a clear
yeah,
cut. There's no you can make arguments for
it's
both
great.
sides. It's gray, very gray, yeah.
So and she's never been a superhero before. She's never done anything like that before. So it's
None
like
of
it was
them
the
are
first
super that's
time.
another
Yeah,
key, right?
yeah,
None of these are
yeah.
super in the comics,
They're
like
amateurs.
Peter Parker is Spider-Man because he was motivated, he saw what his actions meant, like, "Oh, I didn't
His
do anything.
constant thoughts. Yeah,
There's consequences. My uncle Ben died because I chose to do nothing." And so there's this driving force of I want to now help people. And
does whatever he can, even though he
he
makes
does what he
mistakes. He
can.
learns
Like,
from it.
yeah, he makes mistakes, he learns. These people, they aren't heroes. They are lab rats that
Yep.
were injected with something to give them powers. They were raised in the most debaucherous lifestyles, no moral compass, and thrown out there and told that they're heroes, but inside their hearts, they don't have like a heroic. They're just in it for themselves, like most people are. Most people are not heroes. That's why we idolize heroes. That's why we are so impressed when we see a man run into a burning building and come out and save a kid. We're like, oh my gosh, you put your life on. I mean, I'm 9/11. I still tear up sometimes when I think about like the firefighters that were running up this. I hear the stories about people fleeing the Twin Towers down the stairs, and they were talking about they would pass firefighters running up the stairs, and it's just chilling, like to think about people that can put other people's lives above their own. That's not a normal human instinct.
Yep.
All right, so last issue 51.
All right. I don't really remember the very beginning part of this. I know only had a fancy dinner. Butcher walks in. Mr. Blonde and there sees Butcher, and he's like, huh, "I'm not here for you." I can't remember the. Are there anything? Is there anything important what they're saying here?
That's a lot of. I mean, there is some things.
A
It's
lot of
basically a DC
filler.
dinner
Yeah.
event, and they're talking about politics within the world,
Well, yeah,
talking
because
about
remember
some
he
military type things and stuff. And basically, this is all coming down
okay.
to be the idea is, if we guys remember, that the Vought doesn't really want to be in the superhero business. They want to be in the military
No.
industrial complex business, and they want to
This
use their
goes
soups as military weapons. And so
yeah.
they're just this is just some of the DC crosstalk of important people talking about
So I
military
want
things. And then we also see Dakota Bob talking to here on the first panel, that the star or that
so
we saw in the newspaper, the girl.
this goes back to the second issue we covered tonight. I believe 49, where basically Will Butcher got a photo of they were showing as this woman, she's a paraplegic, but she's a athletic doll, basically a athlete. And we know that Monkey has a thing for women basically handicapped women. So Butcher is basically falling there. But also the reason that the Vlot guy is there is because he said he's gonna, and he said in issue, I think it was issue 48, I think he said, or 47, I think it was 48. Said she asked, where are you gonna be? He's like, well, I'm going to DC. Now I know why, because he's going to basically mingle and try to build something else outside the superhero business. We don't know what yet. So then we see basically Butcher's walking in. And he says, "Don't worry, Sunshine, not your turn. Smaller fish to fry." He's walking in, and then he sees he's right behind Monkey, who's eyeing up the girl, the handicapped girl, and he sees Butcher's like, "Yep, I got him."
Yeah,
Uh,
this is let me get to it. This is a really good panel. Zoom in. I didn't even catch this the first time I read it. I
yep,
just saw her,
yep.
and you know, Butcher walking in, and she's smiling, and I saw Butcher just looking, and I didn't even notice. Like, it's like those
He's right behind him.
photos when someone photo bombs, like, and you're like, wait a
Yep,
second, look
yep.
closer. I'm like, oh damn, he wasn't looking at her, he was looking at him. Um,
Yep. Miss
yeah,
Brand is, oh yes, can I help you? He's like, oh, I think I saw. This is the creepy part. He's like,
total
my
creeper.
name's yeah, yeah. Basically, he's like, I'm sorry, Director Boy. He's like, oh, I've always admired you from far. He's like, pardon me. I saw you in Moscow, and yes, I watched you take the gold in Singapore. I watched you at the party tonight, and I knew this was meant to be. Being so close to you at last, I just can't fight any longer. It's destiny. And he says that he basically pushes her in the hotel room. And she's like, what the hell are you doing? He's like, I want to make love to you, you broken body. He's like, what? I want to lick the pus from your bed sores. Like, and he's like, I don't have bed sores. God, what kind of crazy person are you anyway? He's like, there's a man, he kicked me so much that my junk doesn't work. That's how I understand you, darling. That's how I know your pain. That's why I'll have to use this. And this is the funny part is like, you see her, she's pissed off. The next page, she pretty much beats the shit out of him. I love this. And like, see, she's like, oh, call the cops. He's like, and then you see, like, don't worry, it's Butcher there. He's like, oh, I heard voices. There seems to be trouble, miss. Meanwhile, big thing here, we got the new Vought person. They see another superhero. I forget what her name is.
Forgot
But
her
see,
name too.
basically, she's talking to Mr. Blonde over the I guess over the phone, and just says, is like, has anybody ever tried, we don't really need we should no longer be afraid of Butcher and stuff, because he basically because he said because Mr. Blonde had told her before, hey, you should look into the butcher situation. The whole that stuff. The boys solve that problem. No one's ever been able to solve that. And her being a go getter, and this is see now she's gonna. This is the thing we were talking before. She's gonna be a scapegoat.
Could be.
Uh yeah, because she's running. She had a friend call her. She's like, I had a friend over kind of running a simulation, like in his little nerd thing. He's like, what? It's just this is what they do, whatever. And just to see what happened, speculate based on how the boys, their past interactions, what they've done, and everything how this would pan out. If they were actually were to fight the seven. So and then he's like, well, sure. He's like, you have a go ahead. Like, hear me out. She's like, go ahead. And she runs the simulation. No, you know, he's like, he's like, glad you're only making the most of your uh autonomy, Miss Bradley. That's her name, is Miss Bradley. She's like worth doing it. The program is exhausting, comprehensive. So that she runs the program here. Of course, we'll have to wait though because guess who's awake? Monkey's awake, sign of bed. He's like, "Oh bloody hell, monkey!" He's like, "Ah, what's going on?" He's like, "Jesus, what a state to get into." I mean, she said she restrained you. I didn't think she'd tie you down with your fronts around your ankles and stuck a dildo up your arse. Now I wonder, did she do it, or did it really Butcher do this? Because Butcher's a sick fuck.
It's probably Butcher.
Yeah, and she's like, "No, relax, son. I managed to calm her down. Put on me cap crap yank accent and flashed an ID. Told her I was Secret Service. She's in the bar having a brandy. Don't worry about it. It's on me." He's like, I said you're Republican senators, brother. Who is off his meds. You keep getting into trouble, and the family has to cover it up." There you go. For those who are like, "Oh, I don't agree. This is liberal garbage, making fun of Republicans." Whatever. Too bad. Uh, so he says, like, it's just like, "Well, let's get rid of this before we go any farther." He pulls the dildo out of his ass. There you go. You gotta be a good little CI director, ain't ya? No, and like he's basically this kind of like Butcher's got him with his pants down. He can do what he wants. He's just kind of like he's just basically yanking his chain. And it's like, "Yeah, you're gonna come into my office and try to make a cunt of me again, are you? That's definitely a no-no, monkey. That really did piss me off." He's like, "As a matter of fact, well, I've got you, Terror. Terror, mate. Fuck it." Six terror on him, pretty much.
Yeah,
Yes.
and that's a common thing for if you're familiar with The Boys, but
Yes,
that
the dog, the Fila dog, and he
there's
just put it.
multiple things that he's sick terror onto, and he can eat fucks on command.
Yes.
Yeah,
Ah,
it's a pretty dark joke, but pretty sick.
it makes
But
sense though.
kind of funny though. But I feel guilty for finding it funny.
I don't. I mean, I feel bad for the dog, but the dog's happy. Um.
It's pretty gross. I'm glad Garth Ennis he doesn't show it. That's what I love. Like he knows your imagination is more than powerful enough. You don't
Yeah.
lesser writers I think they would have been like, let's show it. And it would have not played out right if you actually showed it.
Yeah. So
Um
where he goes into director Rayner and he shows up and she's, "What the fuck you doing?" He's like, she immediately pulls a gun on because she even says here, he's like, "The last time you said this, you'd kill my kids, kill me my kids, and I'm gonna count to five." And he's like, "Really?" I was just pissed off. He's like, if really gonna kill you, it's like I would have done it, but I'm not going to do it though. I'm not that kind of person, go on kills. That's something you guys do. You know, we get to basically reveal it for past what they did in Afghanistan. I think it was Afghanistan or was it Pakistan? I can't remember what it was. But then bombing. She's like, you went over there and play no, you played cutesy with them, and like helping hugging the children, and then 10 years later you're bombing them. So it's just it just call me a hypocrite. But here's a basically gives her a file, everything went out, about the compound V. It's they said like it says we all know about compound V brain chemistry that what gives the soups control over their abilities. Exact details are not well known, but it comes down to increasing the strength of the neurons, and it turns out the signal they give off when they fire to the point that they can be detected, homed in on by a radar guided missile if you adapt it properly. Sort of thing you might stick under an F-26 or F-16. Um, she's like, "How do you notice?" He's like, it's like, "Well, yeah." And Jonah Volcom noticed it originally, and a lot more work he's been doing since. And by whom? Why are you giving this to me? So he's like, "Well, they passed it on the Air Force, so for them to get tooled up for whatever, you're gonna have to have a lot of mates, when you make your run for Senate. I'm gonna need you wherever you he's got her in there. He's got monkey in his corner, and he's got hair in the corner. It's like it's like you need basically I'm gonna wherever you end up, which let's face it, ain't gonna be far away from the driving seats. I mean, how much use is a monkey gonna be to me, really? It's like you told me, it's like, come on, I was really pissed. Yeah, tell he was pissed off. But that's your game, remember? You gonna kill. So they get the little story in the next couple pages. So it's just basically her explaining, how who she is. Um, you know, and she's pissed off to do all the wordy work to keep clean. We know the burden ourselves, and we expect no thanks. And kind of way she is. And she's like, you know, faraway brown people. He's like, yes. He's like something everyone deals with. The things that happen because of us being there. Suicide bomber drives into a market. Some marine gets scared. He's next, so he cuts a school bus in half with a 50 cal. So he goes, "Time to go, man." She's like, "Wait, you once told me you and I deserved each other." Ah, no one deserves me, love. Personally, if you stick to the phone from now on, or she's like, "What?" Well, come on, Langley's one thing, but you ain't gonna want me like some me dropping in by when you're Capitol Hill, are you? He's with the lady. He's like, she's like, "Do you have to go?" He's like, "Right this moment, she wants sex."
Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Nothing wets
So
her
he's,
panties like Butcher.
yeah, she's like, not suppose not." So he hits the recording thing. After all, what's the rush, eh? He has a little tape, tape recorder.
Yeah, is recording. Of course, that's
So he's
Butcher
been,
getting leverage.
yep. So basically, yeah, we get to her and she runs the simulation complete. And she's basically reading some stuff, and she's, oh shit, 82%. It's like basically what it says afterwards. Basically everyone's gonna be dead if they were to fight. Who would survive? We're not sure about Maeve, but they know that Black Noir and Homelander would survive. All the boys would be dead. And so he's like, oh Jesus, like just the balls out of you. And 82%. We'll see about that. So the battle's gonna happen soon because there aren't many
Seems
issues
like
left.
it.
Of
Well,
Yeah,
they're at least simulating the outcome.
yeah,
Um, Now, one thing that crossed my mind, and again, it's because of the TV show, but the simulation doesn't take into account some things.
well,
Perhaps,
true.
like for
Starlight,
example, like what if? Well, Starlight. They don't know that Starlight is on.
yeah,
With
yeah. There's
so
yeah,
Starlight probably wouldn't be in the fight with them. Probably would be against them. But also Maeve
Maeve.
is
I wonder if they
possible.
know. I wonder if they know if Maeve is like, well, they maybe they don't know. They think she's a drunk, but I wonder if they're gonna catch on to me that Maeve's a spy.
I don't know.
We'll find
That's a
out.
possibility. They do know they had mentioned earlier in the book that Homelander, Black Noir, and Maeve are really the the strength of the team. The other four are just bleh. Um, so that kind of makes sense why those three would be predicted to possibly survive. But like I said, the simulation doesn't take in the fact that what happens. How does the simulation? My point is, how does the simulation run if you put Starlight and Maeve on the other side?
Yep.
You know, but yeah, 82%. Either way, things are coming to a head. So you're like, oh shit.
Yep.
Um,
And then we get, yeah, for the next week we'll have Soldier Boy.
Soldier Boy. Um, yeah. So this is a bit of an I don't want to say anticlimactic, but kind of anticlimactic. I think the third issue was my favorite overall. This almost felt more like an epilogue to the whole thing.
Yes.
A lot of business talking here, political stuff, dealing with Vought getting into the military, and just really good background flavor and helping you understand the overall world that's going on with the boys, but not necessarily the most exciting stuff.
So I
The
gotta say, my favorite part though is here with her kicking the shit out of Monkey.
Yeah, the monkey scene was funny. I think a little overdone. I mean, this whole comic starts off with her. I mean, so many pages are devoted to it. It's intermingled with her discussion to Mr. Blonde um, about pitting the boys and the seven against each other. Because her idea is like, well, if the boys are a problem and the seven are a problem, let's
Cancel each other
just
out.
put
Yeah.
them together, like fight each other. Like, why do we? And so he
Why do we
basically
care?
signs off. He's like, okay, I'll sign off on that. Um, yeah, the monkey scene was funny, but at the end, I was like, oh, it's just so dark. It's so dark. Um, and then yeah, and then here with director Rayner, um,
It's
and the
just so
conversation with
omnibus
Butcher.
coming in. It's just him, just like, he's in charge.
Well, and yeah, and last time he spoke to her, he
Yeah,
did say he was going to kill her kids. Remember, like
yeah, yeah.
so she would be totally afraid. But
He
again,
certainly
like
is
I
not.
love the
Yeah,
fact that you see, like once her guard is down, once she realizes, oh, I'm not in any danger. He's not really going to kill me. She immediately is like, oh, I want you. Like, like, oh, you're not going to kill me? Cool, then have sex with me. Um,
yeah.
But I
It's
also
just
did appreciate the backstory stuff of her story in
yeah,
Afghanistan. You
yeah.
you get to know a little bit more about who she is, like, why like, she's not a good person, but she's everyone in this line of work is just terrible, like, I guess because you have to do terrible things. Yeah. Yeah, so it was, all in all, it was interesting issue, but not necessarily, like, climactic. Otherwise, this last page is pretty huge, but more in what it implies rather than what it actually
Well, we
what
also don't
actually
know. Yeah,
happens.
they don't know that way we know. So what is the actual probability? And will Maeve even fight with the boys, or she'll be like leave the seven and and the boys are on their own? Will she even be a part of the battle? And that's also why they have a question on her too, because well, she's an alcoholic. How reliable is she?
Right.
Also, a question for us too: will she even join the fight? Whose side is she on? There's so many different ways you can look at that photo because of what we know.
Yep.
But
So, all in
yeah,
all,
I gotta say though, these last couple of, is it? I think it's 47. No, not 40, maybe 40, 49. I think is 48 for 9. I had the most dialogue in it. I was like, dang, when is this thing gonna end? Nah, that's what I noticed. Garth Ennis likes to give a lot of heavy dialogue, and the thing is that it's not like today's stuff where you can just go, I'll go just go through the next page. No, it's important you read it. Oh, hold on a second. I need to get rid of that girls dating site. Boom. They're gone now. No more porn bots. I'm sorry, Ed. I know you wanted to click on that link. Sorry, the spots are thirsty for me. Follow me everywhere.
gotta make sure to report them, not just remove them.
Oh, I did that too.
Yeah, bots are so annoying. Ed, damn you, Ed. All right, well, that is it. Wish I could be more. I mean, I'm enthused. I really do enjoy these books. It just this particular storyline was a lot harder to talk about. Did you kind of feel that way too? Like, I
In a
found it
sense,
really
you're more.
enjoyable to read, but it's not like telling about it doesn't feel as exciting. Like it's one of those things like you kind of have to read it and experience it. It doesn't make for a good secondhand story.
I don't know, I thought it was actually a pretty. I said I enjoyed reading it. I enjoyed talking about it. I mean, the two big bombshells we learned more about. Butcher's wife was murdered, or at least somehow related to home. And Homer feel like he basically, oh, I killed her, but I don't know a lot. I don't have memory of that. I have memory of all the other sick shit I've done, but not that. And then we get to learn, yeah, we get to learn more about it. Basically filling the gaps, but it said like it just you get to see. There's more expanse of the characters. Queen Maeve being one. More, but we knew that she was a spy, but we don't know why she was a spy for them. You know, but it said, and then said, "There's no Huey in this." That's the
No
other thing. The
Huey.
big thing is,
It was kind of
it's
weird. Yeah.
yeah, it's the first story arc with no Huey, except for that small little panel at their photo. But um, yeah, and seeing why Butcher is the way he is, just well, we don't really know, yeah, but we know that the whole deal with Mallory. We know that Mallory is involved, but didn't know why he left the team. We don't even know if he died or what until we read the High Maddie or High Laddie, the
Yep.
60
Highland
miniseries,
Laddie.
Highland Laddie. But overall, like I said, I thought it was at least informing. I so I say that as I read this series, you get small little. It's like little, basically small little baits, teases he does you with Garden does, and you're like, well, shit. Now I gotta read more so I can find out more as you go through. It's just like you're getting a lot of like it's basically a subplot going on. There's a lot of shit going on the surface, that normally when other comics wouldn't matter, but it does matter. But you also got that ongoing subplot. Why does Butcher hate Homelander so much? And then Mallory Boy comes out. It's like, are you going to put Oscar at risk? You know, and that applies to the current team. Is he gonna go after Butcher and just say fuck it all to everyone else? He cares if he dies. Is Butcher now more compassionate?
Good questions. Stay tuned next week. We'll see where that goes. I'm very curious to see where the story is going, especially with Soldier Boy. It's tough with the show. Like it keeps interfering. Like I think like oh it's gonna go, but you gotta tell yourself nope, nope. It's not like the show.
And this is this. It looked like in the cover. It looked like the preview was really like basically like a Soldier Boy before all that crap. It's going to take place in the 40s,
And Brewer
maybe.
says later, bros, stay classy. See, you drove him away by banning his bots.
Oh,
Way to go, RDV.
no, he went to go follow the bot.
Yeah, that's probably what happened.
He is the bot.
Well, speaking of bots, we've got comics coming out in 2 days.
Yeah, Detective Comics coming out today, Tuesday. Well, for those who get the DC at their local shops, not everybody does it on no
Do you go to your
Tuesdays.
shop
But
on Tuesday?
well, no, because they don't release it till Wednesday.
Oh,
He gets the
really?
shipment on Tuesday, yeah, but he does you cannot buy it till Wednesday.
Huh.
He said he's not, and then he's not the only other store does this too. He said like, why the fuck are we gonna have people drive here twice a week? You know, that's just bad business, especially with gas prices too. No, and he said I don't want to deal with the hassle all on Wednesday morning. I don't want to deal with it in 2 days in a row, trying to get the books out and then lend you guys in. You
That
know,
is true.
sort
I have
of.
worked in a comic book store in the past, and the day before release day is like super, like it's store busy. It's not necessarily busy because of customers, but it's like
Yeah,
a lot of
yeah,
work of like moving the comics from the last week onto the other shelves, then
yeah,
getting all
yeah,
your new deliveries and putting them up. You do that 2 days in a row would suck.
yeah.
So I guess I can understand that.
And plus he's got people's pull lists. He's got to fill their pull boxes. So he's like, I'm not going to do that twice. You know, it's just do it all once, get it
Yeah,
done with.
that makes sense.
I
Makes
said,
sense.
you know, I'm okay with that. There's been times we got them. We're all just waiting there just for him to fill it out and stuff. And it's like, dude, like, hey, I ain't in a rush. Hey, I could wait here all day if I have to. I'll just read some other books. But
Well, we were
overall, though,
talking about the Detective Comics. I wanted to make a comment before you were talking about how you liked Batman better, and I can totally understand that being reasonable. But what I think is cool is that Detective Comics and Batman are so different. They're both really good,
that's
and
true.
they're
Yeah,
very, very different styles of books. So I think that's really good for Batman fans because I know there's some Batman fans who are like, I want a good detective story. Like I want Batman solving the case, and then
yep,
I've heard that criticism because I love the Nolan Batman movies, and that's always the big criticism is like doesn't do detective, he's just action Batman, and I'm like, okay, well, fair enough. But if you like that style of Batman, then you get that in Zdarsky's run. Like he's writing a hell of an action story. Um, so you get
true.
you get both.
Yep. And the thing with the detective, like to me, it started off slow, and so they're introducing these new characters. But so far, I don't really care for the villains. But we know that there's basically this older family that's like a rival to the what's it called the League of Shadows, you know,
Right?
and
Yeah.
Batman's caught in a gang war basically. It's assassins, and yeah. Overall, like I said, like you know, Two Face, what he does in the previous issue with somebody, and and just like oh my gosh, it's just like I said, it's refreshing. I like Ranby's writing, and it's a different take, and it is a very slow. For me, it was a slow because it was world building, but now we're getting to like the conflict. We get this cool panel. We get to like one of the previous issues where Batman just is in this theater, and even though it's a ruse, but still you see him coming down through the skylight with the cape spread. It's like, dude, awesome. But overall, this week though, books to avoid. Yes. Definitely anything Spider-Man as far as deadly or amazing. Funny that's
Deadly
called.
is Deadly no good?
Deadly is a spin-off of, from what I could tell, is a spin-off of the Kate's world. At least it loosely is. It looks that way. But then again, creepiest Spider-Man story is Beast and then beleagued or the wicked power of a demon bear. Peter Parker is having nightmares where he falls asleep and sometimes when he isn't.
This
It
just
makes sense
doesn't
to Spider-Man.
feel like the description of this doesn't feel like
Spider-Man's
Spider-Man.
exactly. Spider-Man is lighthearted. This
Yeah.
is like, yeah. So the demon bear, obviously, this goes to New Mutants. That's what it seems like. Remember the bear?
Yeah, I have no interest in this. It was written by a guy named Taboo.
You can't even choose their normal name. Was he non-conformist, non-binary,
Uh,
non-gender?
he looks like an angry Native American.
It looks like Namor.
Yeah, I guess he could. But look, he's written nothing.
See, that's we're up by night.
And Marvel voices.
Weird.
Anytime I
Yeah,
see
and then
anyone who's a writer
yeah,
on voices, I go, run away.
yeah, exactly.
Red flag.
Yeah,
You know who
like I
you'll
said,
never see writing Marvel voices? People like Ed Brubaker, uh,
I don't
any
think
of
you're
the
gonna
good
see
writers. Like you're
yeah,
never gonna
well, Ed Brubaker.
see.
You're not gonna see Ed Brubaker come back to Marvel or DC at all. I think he's
True,
content where he is.
that's a bigger name, but I mean, you're not gonna see Josh Williamson. You're not gonna see you're not even gonna see Donny Cates. You're not gonna see any writers that actually sell comics. You're gonna
Well,
get to
no,
see the
because
intersectional crowd that only have a job because of their skin color.
exactly those are yeah. They don't
So.
want white guys in Marvel voices because white people have no voices in Marvel.
Well, they don't even
uh
necessarily put it's not like only white people can write comics. That's not at all what I would even try to suggest. What I'm just saying like
no, no, no. But I'm
but
just saying they
they
don't.
only
They,
put people not because of their writing, it's literally your for Marvel voices, it's
race
not even
color.
necessarily skin color, it's your identity like right? It's well I think no, I think voices is for indigenous people. So,
It is. That's what it is.
whatever. It's
Marvel
like
voices.
so stupid. It's so racist.
I-
Imagine
Yep.
having a comic that was like for white people, like white voices comic. Like, no, they'd be racist. Like, I don't want
Right. Right.
that. No one. Anyways, so yeah, Spider-Man. Even if it was a good writer, I wouldn't
It's
be
too dark.
interested because I'm like, yeah, I want Dark Spider-Man.
Deathstroke. Yeah. Year one. I don't need that shit. I'm done with Deathstroke. And maybe people like the character, but people complain about the Joker being overdone. There are too many Batman books. Deathstroke is in pretty much every Batman book, or
For a while,
anything.
he really was.
Yeah, I was like, oh yeah,
Well, this is Ed
Red Red.
Brisson and Dexter Soy. Um,
Yeah.
it's it's probably at least a solid, like okay book. Ed
Well,
Brisson is
We had Josh Williamson in the book writing an awesome Deathstroke, and
yeah,
then
but I mean, Josh Williamson can only write so many books. You don't really want him on
he can write
Deathstroke,
as
do
many
you?
books as he want to write. Yeah, I do.
Well, okay, well, what book do you pull him off?
Well, right now he was pulled off at Justice League. He was going to be writing Justice League. I'm trying to think what is he writing? What is he writing right now? Because he's not on the main. Like, he's not really on a main book. He's on mini series.
I guess
I've
my
noticed that a
point is,
lot
if
because
I'm going to
they
put
come
Josh
off Robin.
Williamson on, I would put Josh Williamson. I would use him on a flagship title. That's where you
You know
should
where I'd
put.
put him back? I'd put where I'd put Joshua Wilson back. Put him back on Robin. But they canceled his series so they can make Robin like Tim. Oh,
Oh,
yeah,
Josh Williamson's doing Superman, isn't he?
well, that's right. Yeah, he's doing Superman. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, that's
He was
better.
doing Damian. He was doing Damian Wayne Robin stories.
This to me, like Deathstroke, like Ed Brisson is like a, he's like a B-list writer.
Yeah,
Like that's fine. Deathstroke's a more minor character. This is a perfect thing. Dexter Soy is an adequate artist. He's got his fans. Dexter Soy fans love his work. Like that this seems like a totally good. I mean, I'm not gonna buy it, but I don't. I can totally. It seems like a worthy comic, and fans. Other than I hate Death. This girl, this whoever she is, Deathstroke's
Chris
daughter.
Ravager. No, I liked her before in the '90s. and then like during the
You know me, I
2000s.
hate legacy characters. Well, speaking of your favorite book, Robin, this is the one. This is the one to avoid right here. Although I don't think it's gonna. We need to warn people. I think some things just stand out, right? Like you don't have to warn people to not jump into a bonfire. I don't think you have to warn people to avoid this book. Look at this
Well, like I guarantee
cover.
what's going on. It's basically Tim Drake Robin versus Clayface.
This cover is awful.
Yeah, he's fighting against
Why
Clayface.
does Robin
So
look like he's 7?
he has to be skinny and effeminate. He's a
Ugh.
femboy.
He is a femboy. Like he's smaller than Stephanie.
Yep.
Like she towers over him
Well,
from
no,
this picture.
well, she's jumping down. She's not
No,
leaning
but
down.
she's crouched. Like she's not even standing straight up. Her body's kind of like bent almost like in a sitting position. Anyways, is it ugly. All in all, I don't
Yeah.
see too many books here that are
Diamond Fortress, Defenders, skip that. Trying to think what else. Sunshine, you can skip that. Doctor Strange one. Yes, I don't who's writing that because the art is horrible though.
yeah, this is a Trad Moore is the artist. This is
Oh,
a
the fuck is this?
you either like Trad Moore or you don't, I guess.
This isn't the Beatles' Yellow Submarine. Get this shit off of here.
Trad Moore has got like tons of fans, man. I learned that I didn't know who he was until Silver Surfer Black, and I was like, "What the hell is this?" And everyone was like, "Oh, Trad Moore, Trad Moore." I was like, "What? Who is this guy? Why does everyone like him?" He's definitely that kind of artist where you either like it or you don't.
At
Maybe
this
I just
point,
haven't
do we
done enough
believe?
shrooms. Maybe that's
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, you guys are definitely on acid. He's dropping acid. Oh, look at that.
yeah. Maybe
It's
if
like a
I did some
Hinduish.
acid, I would.
It looks like Hinduish, almost in a sense. The way the beads are on the eye, Agamotto. My other thing it says is that what does it to do with Strange, the other book, which is still ongoing?
Oh, that's a good question. It says from the mind of Trad Moore, Doctor Strange awakens alone in a distant world not his own,
So it's an
lost of
Elseworld.
purpose and surrounded by danger. The wandering sorcerer must explore this land of blades and mystery to unravel arcane secrets and escape the deadly horrors that lie in wait. From the fantastical mind of creator Trad Moore, you already said that, comes a
That's
strange story like you've never seen. Well, that's true.
Can I get Rossmo back? Never thought I'd say that. Rossmo is a better artist than this guy.
Yeah, I actually Silver Surfer Black grew on me, so
Like a fungus.
um I'm not sure how Doctor Strange is gonna fit, but yeah, it's definitely that's gonna be a lot of subjective taste. People, the good thing is with art like that though, you can look at it and you can just tell if you want it or if you're interested or not. That the cover artist is the artist, so you're not gonna be ripped off. What I hate is when you get tricked into something. With writers, like you can't always know. You're like, oh, this is gonna be, and you go buy the book and you read it, and you're like, oh, this is terrible.
Right?
It's too late. Can't get your
Uh
money back.
I would say to avoid Creep Show.
No, you're not hot
The
on it
first
anymore. I thought you
the
liked it.
first one was good. The first one was good. Even though Bree didn't like it, we both agreed the second one was horrible.
Oh,
And
that's
I
too
can't remember
bad.
who the third. I can't remember who the third person because they're different writers each week.
So it's possible it could be good though, right? If they
Well,
change it.
I think it's Vita LA in this one. Oh no! See, it doesn't
Wah,
want to show you.
wah.
It's that bad.
Let's take a look. Who's involved? Uh, Ariella Christian Tina, L. Marlo Francavilla, Francesco Francavilla. I don't know
I
any
mean,
of these people.
Chris Burnham is the artist for Ghostbusters, or IDW.
Well, he
So
just
that's
does
why
the
it's
cover artist.
yeah.
So,
Well, that's why the cover's great. Yeah.
um, yeah, I don't know these people. Uh, well, that's too
And
bad.
it says right there. It says Night of the Ghoul, Detective Comics. You know, French goes from Cavilla, and then she's from Chain, and the George Corona is from the Me You Love in the Dark.
I
So
heard that was
I don't know.
horrible.
Yeah, like I
Hmm.
said, I'm just done with it. I gave it a shot
Done.
because gave it a shot, gave it 2 issues, moved on.
Moving
Um,
on.
to the east side. Yep. Let's see what else is going on. Nothing. I mean, Captain Marvel. I'm still reading that. I'm having fun with that.
I have a morbid curiosity for this book. Stuff of
Like
Nightmares.
R.L. Stein. Ooh.
Yeah, I was a R.L. Stein fan as a kid.
Oh, yeah,
For
look at
those of
that.
you
Frank
that
goes.
don't know,
Yeah,
he Where the Sidewalk Ends, famous, really famous children's book. Um, the fact
it
that he's
said
doing
Goosebumps.
horror
Yeah.
stuff, like I'm like, wow, curious what he would do.
Well, if you read his Goosebumps, those are all horror.
Does he do Goosebumps?
Yeah, he has Goosebumps.
Am I thinking of the same guy?
Yeah.
Maybe he didn't do this. Maybe maybe he didn't do Sidewalk Ends. Maybe I'm thinking of a different. Huh.
He did a lot. His Goosebumps are all trades, and then a lot of the ones he did, he had choose your own Avenger. He chose this decision. He go to that page to tell you where to go. Those are so cool back in the day.
Oh, it is pretty cool.
And he had one with a dummy on it, like and it was messed up. It was like it's creepy because they said how it scurries around, and so it's like, oh, you're
Look at
reading it.
this. Oh, Shel Silverstein. I don't know why I was mixing up Shel Silverstein with R.L. Stein.
I don't
Sorry about that. I'm old, senile.
know. It's
Um,
um
I will say, um, if you see a Star Wars book and they draw Luke Skywalker with yellow lightsaber, that they probably don't know what they're doing. So I would avoid this. And if you see like pink-haired weirdos,
it's so well. That's
like
Jade.
it's
It's
then
Mary
you
Jade. She had
also
red hair.
avoid it. So yeah, but I think most people know whether they they like Star Wars or they don't like Star Wars.
Well, there's people who like the books, and there's people who just don't like the comics at all. Or there's people who like both, and the
I
opposite.
think people are either happy with Star Wars with how Disney's doing Star Wars, or people are just fed up.
I think some people actually might just like Star Wars comics because they have nothing to do with the actual crappy Star Wars movies that they've put out.
No, that's not
Then again,
true. No, since Disney bought Star Wars, they made it so the comics are canon with the movies.
oh, did they? Well, then
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
who knows? But
This is a pretty cool. I gotta say, not really a big GI Joe. I like GI Joe. As a kid, I loved GI Joe. I've never bought any of the IDW stuff. This is just a cool cover. I
poster.
just If you're a GI Joe fan, I mean, to be able to fit all these characters on this cover, it's pretty impressive. Nice job, IDW. I don't give you a pat on the back very often, but that's pretty cool.
Reminds of
300th
the
issue cover.
reminds of those little guys. These glow in the dark little figurines of bad guys, and you could collect all of them back in the '80s, late '80s. You'd buy them, collect little monster guys, and then you have a poster that has every single one of them,
All right.
identifying them.
Yeah.
I forget what they're called, but it was cool. My brother had those. Hanzo.
I'm not seeing a lot of trash. I'm seeing a lot of like meh,
Iffy. Yeah.
but nothing like that just makes me want to be like, oh my god.
Batman
That's that maybe is
superhero.
that a good sign?
Yeah. Well, so far,
I mean, I'm getting
Marvel
far
superheroes.
down.
There we go. Vampire Slayer, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I stopped reading that mainly because the writers are it wasn't getting woke. It's got the point where it's just the stories were just getting worse and worse. It's just getting boring. I like the in 2019 when they rebooted it. It was slightly different the show, but then they kind of like now we have multiverse. But let's see here.
So I
I
have
might give
to
that.
express just a little bit of annoyance. So you know me, I am a massive Frank Miller fan. He's probably my favorite writer of all time in
Who's
comics, that
Frank
is.
Miller?
So Frank Miller's got a new comic coming out, Ronin Book 2, which I love the original Ronin. I don't expect this to live up to the quality of Ronin. Um, I do like Philip Tan's art, and I'm very curious to read this for the art. These books aren't cheap. They're $7.99. Now they are 48 pages, so they're thick. But okay, so you want me to pay $7.99? Okay, Frank, I'll consider paying $7.99 for your book. But then, for whatever reason, you're deciding to release another book. Frank Miller presents Ancient Enemies, number one, $7.99 on the same day. So he I just wish Frank's not listening in, I'm sure. But if you
Anymore.
have comic books, not anymore. If you have comic books, you're selling comic books, you need to understand that yours is not the only comic book we buy. So I have a pull list of comics I get every month. And I most people who buy comics get a either they have a pull list or they have their regular buys, however they do it. And they build that up to a threshold level of their budget of what they want to spend on comics every month. And sometimes they can add stuff. There's wiggle room, but most people don't just like, oh yeah, I'm gonna, my let's say my budget's $100 a month, but I'm only gonna spend 50. That way, I got plenty of money to like. Most people, if they can spend $100 a month on comics, they're gonna spend $100 or whatever it is, 200. So, but to add an $8 book to my pull, that's a big deal. But then to add another $8 book, that's a big deal. And then there's a third one, which I don't think actually, fortunately, comes out on the same day. But I'm like, come on, man! Like, space them out at least. I don't want to have to get like. That's why there's multiple weeks. Like, all the comics don't just come out one day a month; they come out every Wednesday. And it used to be like the big dogs. They knew this, like Marvel and DC. Like, you didn't release Amazing Spider-Man and Spectacular Spider-Man on the same week. You did them on different weeks. They used to know this, and Frank Miller knows. I don't know. I'm just ranting here on my soapbox, but this annoys me because I do want to try them out, but I don't relish the idea of adding $15 to one day um, for books, especially they're not proven books. These could totally suck. I don't know. Anyways, thanks for letting me soapbox.
And this has been an Ash Talk with Ash.
Are you? I have a feeling you're not interested in either of these books. Although Ronan does
Ah,
have a female protagonist,
yeah.
female with a sword.
So did Walking Dead.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know. I'm just. This seems like lately there's Ronin Turtles now. There's Ronin this. How many Ronin books will there be?
I have
Samurai
no idea.
Doggy, another Ronin.
Well, this is an actual sequel to a comic from the 80s.
I never read the first one, so I really have no care for reading the second one. But
Well, it doesn't seem like you. I don't know who this girl is because the first series had a male protagonist, and it was
it's
wrapped
just
up.
it'd be really weird to read a sequel to something I've never even read of before, so I'm not really invested in it. Where
I don't.
you are torn, or because you actually read the first one.
Right, right. I don't. But
Yeah,
what I'm trying to say is I don't think this is like connected, other than like the world, because I have no idea who this girl character is, and the first story is wrapped up. It's they're
so
you're not
it says
continuing that character's
yeah.
not continuing. So this is a totally new. Like, you can just jump in. I'm sure you don't need to
It
read the
says
first one.
follows original work and takes Casey and her newborn son across the ravaged landscape of America. So Casey must have been in the first one. Maybe just remember because the old manitis.
She might have been a small character.
Yeah,
Um,
that's what I mean. Yeah.
so yeah, I do have old manitis. That is true. I'm sure I go back and read Ronan and be like, oh, this is Casey. I remember. Um, but yeah. Anyways, yeah. So, mm, here's the cover. Here's the cover for book 2 or issue 2. Philip Tan's a pretty good artist.
Yeah, I like Philip art.
Interesting choice to go all black and white. That's another thing, man. $8 for a black and white book. Hmm. Come on, Frank.
And then next year you'll get the colored deluxe station.
Oh, anything standing out to you as I scroll around through this nonsense?
uh, Kamen Rider, I'm gonna give it a chance to.
You're
Zero
gonna give
one.
it? You're gonna give it a chance?
It's Titan. It's a Titan book, so
Titan
I
does
always
pretty
get Titan
good.
books. Yeah, I
Brandon
only know.
Easton and Henry Prasetya. I
I
have
only
no idea
know
about those
of the
two.
Masked Rider, which was a show in Saturday morning cartoons. Well, it was a cartoon, but it was a live action. But I guess Kamen Rider was it's based off of. It was loosely based off of. Um, I don't care for Punchline Image. Now that it was I believe it's issue 8. Wow, bunch of
That
different
thing's
books
still
each
going.
week.
No one's talking about this at all.
Yeah, isn't the first one they done though? Yeah, but what they had told me, aren't you? You didn't check that out?
No, I didn't. I was just eyeballing this too. Um, I love samurai stuff, so I was like, "What is
Yeah,
this?" I don't remember. Let's go back to the what was the first issue look like? Huh.
Beetle and Japera Drifter. Yeah, with those supposed to begin training. Oh, so basically
I think I
she's
might have been like, female samurai. It's probably gonna be woke.
who knows?
Um,
It's been a
works to
while.
gain the rank of samurai, a title no man, monster, or myth can give to her, but one that she will have to take for herself. Yeah, it sounded a little bit.
It sounds like Mulan.
Yeah, it could be good. I don't know. I do
People are
love,
singing grades, yeah. So
feudal Japanese stuff. Um, I also, because I do love it so much, I do love this cover a lot.
yeah,
Um,
beat your uncle.
I
You figure it out.
I I worry about messing it up. Like the more I love something, the more picky I am of how it's done. So if I read it and it's all like I'm reading samurai, but they all have like 2020 social like ideas, like oh, it's a woman's right to choose, blah, 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 and it's like oh god, take me out. I don't. That's one of my biggest pet peeves actually when I read period pieces, but the people speak like they're modern. You
Yeah,
still
nothing
alive?
really. I'm barely alive. I'm
Well,
undead, as they say.
what were you gonna say?
No, as they say, I'm undead. Metal though, I like the cover because that's the girl from the original movie. Now, now I'm hoping it's not a clickbait cover because it's magazine.
$15, man.
I
Who
know. What's
buys
a
heavy
magazine?
metal?
I do every once in a while.
Do you?
Yeah. When they brought back the girl from the first movie with the sword and a new story and everything, I was buying them. Does it say anything?
I like the variant
Not,
cover.
yeah. I'm just hopefully she's in the book. Not that it's just like a hey, we got the main girl in here, so you should go. And then you find out it's not her. Duo of wire monkeys.
Yeah, heavy
Yes.
metal used to be a place where you could go and get some of the
weird
like the
stuff.
most cutting edge, like just like writers and artists that were just doing really out there stuff. And nowadays, I look at the list and it's a lot of the people you see at Marvel and DC, and you're like, ugh, I don't really want to read a Stephanie Phillips heavy metal story or a Mark Russell or just like, I'm like, So yeah, I man, this Dan Didio is making a comeback. You gonna get it? 64 pages. Nope. Uh,
Frank Miller cover.
no, it's not even a Frank Miller cover.
Variant cover artist.
Oh, this, yeah, no, this is terrible.
That's how I feel when I read Marvel.
That's right. That looks terrible. I'm very curious
Oh,
about this because I think Dan Didio has talent. Um,
actually, it's more like when a kid goes on Twitter for the first time, realizes that
this
no one's nice to him. It's not a safe place.
is when
I'm
you,
surrounded by people who disagree with me.
or this is when the SJW just realized that Elon brought back Trump. No.
True, yeah.
Um,
That is interesting to see if they actually will comment on it, but like I said, I mean, I understand why he's not doing it now, but I mean, when you start campaigning, you want to be heard everywhere. You know, can't rely on the news media. You know, everybody
Rania's
does a rallies. Yeah,
Rania's calling me out for debating whether I want to buy a Frank Miller book. It's not whether I want to buy it. I do want to buy it. Like I just I have some conflicts in me. Number one, I don't like $8 comics. I think that's a terrible. Like I balk at $3.99. I think $3.99 is too expensive for comics. So $7.99. It's like, come on. But I'm probably gonna get it because I'm a sucker. But I even want to get this Dan Didio book because Frank Miller's involved. He's not writing it or drawing it, but I'm sure like Frank Miller was in at least on like the story idea, you know. Um, so and I do know that Didio is a talented writer to some degree. So I don't feel like Frank Miller would have partnered with him if there wasn't something here. Um, it sounds and it sounds cool too. The pitch here: Earth becomes the final battle for centuries-old war between two alien races, but this final conflict becomes the unintentional breeding ground for a new generation of superpowers, each with the ability to influence the outcome of the war. Some superpowers choose sides, while others struggle to maintain their independence with the hope of saving the Earth. The series explodes with new characters and creations written by former DC publisher Dan Didio, with design and art by the industry's newest rising star, Danio Bayruth. As first issues go, this one is not to be missed. They always say
oh crap, I missed it.
that.
I didn't even know about it until you brought it up. Actually,
Yeah. So now I have to. I just don't like having to make hard choices. I wish it was just easier. I wish these were $3.99 books. I'd rather the book be smaller, half the size, like split the first issue in half, and I'll pay $3.99 this month and $3.99 next month.
if only
Um,
women were like that.
so that's what I'll be getting. This is interesting. Have you Once Upon a Time at the End of the World? Oh, it's Jason Aaron. Never mind.
Nick Dragata, though, you know your boy Skip's getting it.
Nick Dragata
Is in art,
oh, he's the artist.
so, so Skip will be getting it.
Wait a second. There's multiple artists.
But he's the main artist, though.
I don't think so because it says with Nick Dragata. So Jason Aaron, Alexandre Tefenkni, whatever, and then Lee Louridge. Yeah, Alexander Tefenki from The
Yeah.
Good Asian. Hmm. Oh well. Well, I think it's
Most
time to
offensive,
wrap this up. Unless
and I'll just say the most offensive titles I see right there are the very top. Those Amazing Spider-Man, Action Comics, and Daredevil #5.
oh, what's bad about Action Comics? I thought people were liking it.
Until they stop calling him Kal-El, I don't care. I, it's It was cool they got Steel. I remembered, hey, we got a black character.
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from, and I do like. I'm not opposed to him having that name because that is his birth name. I know it's not his identity. Like he never even knew that it was his name until he was an adult,
Yeah,
and he only
the
knows
Visit of
that that's
Frederick.
what his biological parents assigned him. So to him, he's Clark Kent. That's what he grew up
I
as.
yeah, well,
His
yeah.
mother and father are Ma and Pa Kent. So I appreciate that he would be like, "This is my birth name. It means something to me because it's my heritage." But he would still
The
think of
only way,
himself as Clark
yeah,
Kent.
the only way I would accept calling him Kal-El is someone who doesn't know his secret identity. So they call him Kal-El
Well, right.
until and because Bruce calls him Clark. He
Right.
doesn't call him
And I and
Kal-El.
I and I agree with that. Now, what I was trying to get at is
Yeah.
for the purposes of marketing, you can't say, well, you could, but because Bendis was stupid, you
Superman
can't say
Returns.
Clark returns. You can't
Well, they
say
could.
because Clark Kent's essentially gone. But also, you can't say Superman returns because
Yeah, you can. You can call the other boy, call him Superboy.
I
That's
get
what he
that.
is.
But the problem is they're calling him Superman.
Yeah, I
So
know. That's their fucked up.
currently, so currently, if you're in order to differentiate between the two, Kal-El is a way to say, okay, well, this is Kal-El Superman versus John Kent
But
Superman.
why can't they both have the same name? You know.
Well, they can have the same name, but just like we have to say Miles Morales because you can't just if you say Spider-Man, it's confusing
Well, if you say
because
Flash, it's confusing too.
yeah, it is. I hate it. I
Green
hate it.
Lantern,
I hate it. Yes.
Batman. Which one?
Yes. No, not Batman.
Jace or Bruce?
No, there's only one Batman. Everyone knows it.
Uh, yeah. The only person that doesn't have their own clone with them or legacy is Mr. Terrific.
So
It seems
so my point is from a marketing standpoint, I don't mind it because he is Kal-El. So calling him that on the cover of the comic book is different than having like Bruce come up and be like, "Hey, Kal-El." That would be stupid. Or if he walked around and said, "Hi, I'm Kal-El," like that would be dumb. I don't see the character
like,
doing that.
do
But
they even
as far,
call him Clark anymore since Bendis? I'm wondering because remember Bendis got rid of Clark Kent. His identity is not secret anymore.
yeah, well, I guess what would really be telling is how he interacts with Lois. If Lois
Yeah.
is like Cal, you're like, no, it doesn't work. He's Clark. She would just call him Clark. But I don't mind that label being affixed on the comic book because
Like I literally
he is Kal-El. He just doesn't call himself. No one calls him that. It's almost like a secret name.
like you said, Kal-El is for like people Kryptonians that know him, like Kal-El. You know, it's like because they don't know he's Clark Kent.
Sure, I guess.
Yeah,
The fact that there are
like you
even
know.
Kryptonians to call him that is stupid, in my opinion.
Well, I don't disagree with you. I mean, it's like
The
that was
one
not
good thing that Bendis did his entire run was kill the stupid Bottle City. What was it called?
Candor. He killed them.
Candor. Yes.
I like him
Thank
having him be there. It's just that he couldn't
no.
visit. He just no. The reason that no, this is explanation. They're there, but he couldn't interact them. It was like a tortured thing for him. Like he's like the city's there, but he'll never be able to actually like communicate with his
Hundreds
parents
of
enough.
thousands of Kryptonians alive.
And it showed you how evil Brainiac was. He said, but he could never really communicate with them. Could he not? You know,
But he
the only
could
time we ever
communicate
see
with
him.
them because they would do stories where he would go into the bottle and it could be
I don't
just
remember that. Was that Silver Age?
no, that was somewhat recent.
Oh, I don't see. I
They
don't
would
read.
yeah, like
Yeah, I
just the
don't read. I
fact that
read
they
that.
exist. He's the last son of Krypton. That's it. There is no others until you find out that Zod. But Zod's a bad guy, so it works. I don't even really like Supergirl. I get why she exists, but the more the more Kryptonians you have running around, in my opinion, the dumber it gets. Number one is it dilutes Superman. Um, but number two, it's like the point of him being the only one is makes him kind of special. The fact that it's like, oh look, now there's like on this cover. I hate this cover. I hate this cover for two reasons. Number one,
Legacies.
it has the stupid Bendis Fortress of Solitude where it's in the ocean in the Bermuda Triangle
Oh,
because
is that what it is? Okay.
yeah, what's one of the things
How do
Bendis
you
did is that Superman moved the Fortress of
wait, wait,
Solitude.
wait? How do you know that? Were you reading Bendis?
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah, no, I gave Bendis a try. I didn't come in as a Bendis hater. Like Superman made me realize that Bendis sucked. I gave both Action and Superman 12 issues. Um
Like I
and
said, I'm happy because I'm reading the better version of Superman stories right now.
yeah, so one of the things he did is he moved the Fortress of Solitude to the most
Yeah.
widely populated shipping lane in the Atlantic. Because
And Marania says this too, but it says I remember the shows usually Silver Age when he went into the bottle. Superman 78 comic book, he did, yeah, he went in the bottle too. He went in there too. That was the only reason, yeah. But not in Bendis that I'm aware of.
I'm
Unless
pretty sure
if
he visited as recently as Rebirth.
yeah,
I want to say. I remember reading a story when I got back into comics,
uh,
and I was like, "Oh, okay." I just don't like it. And when I read the Bendis story and they killed the Candor, I was like, "Yes, this should not exist." Like because
what it was
it's
actually
comics. If
it
they
was Bendis.
exist, there's a way to get them free.
There was a story though. It was Batman Superman. This is going on during Future State, right around there, where the bottle was broken, and you know all these little like Kryptonians flying around trying to attack him.
Yeah, no, I hate it. I hate it so much. I hate that they brought his dad back.
Well,
Just
yeah, his
no.
dad. No, no.
There should be
Uh,
Superman, Zod, and I'll tolerate Kara. Like
yeah,
because
Connor Kent is what I like the most in John.
and I do like
Connor,
well, I don't like
yeah.
Connor, but
Well,
I
Connor wasn't.
I liked Connor for the time. I think he's a remnant of the 90s that should stay in the 90s. I don't think he fits in
Ash should stay in the
Rebirth
'90s.
era. I just don't think he fits in Rebirth era. Like
That's because they rebooted everything.
well, right. But they need to reboot it because they
They brought
can't
in
let characters they keep constantly making these new characters. It doesn't work.
they
And then they
brought in
go, "Oh,
John.
we've got 50,000 new
Sorry,
characters. We got to like trim it down." Okay, trim it down. Cool. Okay,
I'm gonna tell you
except
right
now
now.
everyone's missing those 50,000 characters, so bring them back. Okay, now we're overflowing again. Okay, trim it back down. They have to
I'm gonna,
pick stay with the one thing.
we did not need Jonathan Kent. We did not them having a kid. We did not need that crap. They wanted to advance the story. Okay, and we got cool stuff, but they realized,
Well,
well, what are we gonna do with Connor now?
we didn't need it, but it was a great story.
Oh, I'm not saying it was a bad story. I'm just saying we just didn't need it, and that's what screwed things up even further.
We didn't need Connor Kent either.
Well, Connor's introduction in the story made sense, and like I said, Connor it worked out. It says that the writers decided to base.
You don't
Huh,
think Clark and Lois having a kid makes sense?
they never should have had a kid.
Well, you're like the
It's like
biggest advocate of like having kids. Like,
no, I don't want. Not saying now for Wally and the Flash, it works out with them. It doesn't affect anything else.
why
Sorry,
shouldn't Superman and
because
Lois
they're
have a
already
kid?
because you know what's going to happen. Bruce and Selena are going to have a kid. They're going to reintroduce Helena Wayne into the main continuity.
Maybe.
Or she's gonna have an abortion.
That
That's what
doesn't
DC's
answer
going.
why Superman and Lois shouldn't have a kid.
Well, no, I said I just it was not a needed thing. It's just that they kept trying to advance the character. It's like having Peter Parker grow up. Um, I understand. I mean, making Peter Parker, you know, some people didn't want Peter Parker to advance. They wanted to have him where he was, not be, right now they're trying to push him where he's 15. You could have Peter Parker grow up like he was in Civil War, like that, but then you have to write more adult stories with him.
I agree. I never liked like corporate Peter Parker.
Yeah,
I agree that they need. Well, they didn't need to, but Stan Lee believed in moving the
I
timeline. Stan Lee was kind of the the big guy that broke this. I think. I don't think he did it maliciously,
if
obviously,
they,
but like
I'm
he
just
liked
saying
the
if they,
idea of characters advancing. DC characters were frozen, right? Like they didn't. Once upon a time, there was that slice of time. Robin never grew up, right? He was always Batman's ward, and it wasn't
yeah,
until like
so
the '80s as Marvel timeline started shifting and you saw Peter go from high school to college to graduating college, like and having these and you've seen character like he gets married. Now granted DC has done things too, like where Superman has been married or whatever, but they didn't really move timelines until the more modern era. And then once they started doing that, now we've got Wally West not just replacing Flash, but he's got like three kids or about to have three kids. And
he's got two
they're
right now.
the Fantastic Four have got two kids. Well, I guess they're Marvel, so it's not the same, the analogy I'm looking for. But
Well,
you can't be
Mark,
doing that and not Superman and
yeah,
Lois are fixed. Like they're never going to undo that. I don't think.
no. Well, they
Like I
tried to
think
do it.
New 52 was the last attempt to put Superman and Wonder Woman together, and it failed.
Yeah,
Um,
we see a last attempt, but DC, they'll try again.
it's possible. But I believe at this point, Superman and Lois being married in a family has really been cemented. In the past, it was like, oh, is Superman gonna get married to Lois? And then they'd be married, and then they'd find something to reboot and just pretend that didn't happen. But this is now like there's generations that just understand. It's like, well, like it should be with Peter Parker and Mary Jane. They should be married. They were married
Yeah,
for so long, like an entire
and
generation. That undoing it's like Reed and Sue should never be split up. Like you've now cemented this. It's now permanent. It's iconic. And since it's iconic, I feel it's okay for them to have kids.
and like I said they had MJ and Peter having a daughter worked in an alternate universe, not in the main continuity.
Yeah.
Because you still had Peter Parker running around, being Spider-Man, being married to Mary Jane, but the MR, I think it was called the MR2 or whatever. And Obviously Spider-Man, because the only way you have a daughter growing up is that you got to have something happen to the hero. The hero can't perform as be a hero anymore. So that
That's the whole
and that,
problem
that
with the
yeah, yeah,
sliding
yeah,
timeline. I
yeah.
hate it.
Um so like I said, the whole Superboy thing. If they introduced Connor Kent should have been an evil villain, like something like that. Something it's abomination. Something that it had good here. It was constantly fighting, and then basically where he had to get rid of it. The character. Uh, if they want to go with Superboy and stuff like that, the problem is with that. You said like eventually you're gonna have to age the character up because you're gonna run out of stories to tell as a kid being a kid. Um,
I don't think you
but
run
the
out of
way they
stories to tell.
because no, because you're dude, this is DC. Tell me they're not gonna run out of
Well,
stories. They already
you're
hired.
gonna okay. Look,
Yeah.
you're gonna have talent, bad talent, not know what to do. That's a different story. But I mean,
We've already seen
look at
their
the
own
Sim.
ideas.
How many seasons of The Simpsons on now?
How many are bad?
No, no. How many seasons of The Simpsons are there?
I have no idea, dude.
Like
I
over
dipped out
30.
like 10 years ago. 10 years ago, I dipped out.
Well, like, that's fair. I'm not trying to tell you to like The Simpsons. I'm just
Yeah.
saying. My point is, Bart Simpson is still 9 years old. They didn't age him a day. They didn't run out of stories to tell with these characters. They're archetypal. Like if you say that I can't write a new story because all the 10-year-old stories are done, I need them to now be 11 to tell a new story. That's just unimaginative writers. Um, Look, I think the reason, in my opinion, why Super or Connor, sorry, can't even think straight. Jonathan Kent worked actually was because he was a 10-year-old. I think the problem aging him up just broke him.
Well,
Connor Kent worked, but Ronnie is talking in the chat, and she's talking about being a clone or whatever. She didn't like that he was a clone of Luthor and stuff. I think that made him work because of precisely of the death of Superman's story. Connor Kent was introduced, and he was very much like the other three Supermen, introduced in a fashion to where he could be gone. Like they could remove him when they brought Superman back. He was just so popular that they kept him. But he was all those characters were not designed to be permanent characters per se. They could easily be undone. And so I think there was an era where Connor made sense because there was an era where that storyline was prevalent. The Death of Superman storyline is no longer in most fans' heads. They just did a anniversary special, and I hear it's really good. And there are people that live through it and remember that, but most people, if they're a Superman fan, you're reading the modern comics, it needs to fit into that. And I just don't think that the Connor whole thing fits. And I agree to some extent with the clone of Luthor, but again, it doesn't even make sense that he's there because this is New 52. Connor can't exist. Like the only reason Superman is here is because he escaped Flashpoint. There shouldn't be characters outside of Superman and Lois in the New 52 universe because Flashpoint. None of this make yeah. So, but
Well, it's
Bendis
just
didn't. He just was like, "I'm writing Young Justice. Here's Connor Kent on the Gem World. Why are you here? Oh, just because." You're like, no explanation, no background, no continuity. Just here I am. Oh, and I'm married, by the way. Like what? You're what? Yeah, it was terrible. Doesn't fit.
Honor today, like I said, yeah, does not fit today because they wrote him out. Because they went in, I said they wanted to bring in Jonathan Kent for Rebirth and all that stuff. They decided to basically write Connor out. So having Connor in today does not make sense unless you're doing a throwback issue or you're doing a '90s verse, where this group of comic books are only going to be set in the '90s.
Right.
You know, yeah.
I think.
But
Go ahead.
overall, though, I said overall, like I said, it's cool that they have a kid now. The problem is now this kid's going to stay a kid forever. He got the he's got the Franklin Richards curse, but yet we see Franklin Richards being aged up a little slowly by surely. Same with Damien. We've seen him gone from like age 6 now. We see him he's like age 14 now.
Well, they Marvel does this stupid shit that pisses me off. Well, I guess DC does it now too because Bendis, where they artificially age up the characters,
Yep.
and that's what happened to Franklin Richards, right? So
Yep.
I forget what they did, but they aged they added like 7 years to him. And I was like, what the
Yes,
hell? So now you've got Franklin Richards running around as like a late teens character.
because they're in space and many light years away from Earth, so it took them that many years to get back after the whole battle
Dumb,
world thing,
dumb, 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 dumb,
Secret
dumb,
Wars. Same thing happened with what's his name, Kal-El's son,
dumb. Franklin
Jonathan.
Richards worked as a baby. As a baby that had he was the most powerful mutant alive. He could alter reality, and so Reed Richards had to deal with this baby who couldn't control his powers because he's a baby, or I think he was a toddler. And it's like, oh, that's an interesting story element. Now you fast forward, you change him into teenager, and he has the power to literally create universes. That's a broken character. It doesn't.
Or he did have the power. I don't know if he still does or not.
It's well, right. Okay, so then you got to break that. It's like, see, that's the problem is when you change these characters, you age them up, or you're fundamentally changing what the character is. Now, see, I don't think Peter Parker should have a kid.
Peter Parker is the only one that actually was actually growing up in the comic books throughout the years, the
Well, he was
'60s
the
going on.
catalyst. He was the one that kind of started.
Yeah,
That's the whole
yeah.
Stan Lee wrote
And to
Peter
me,
Parker to grow up, and it just everyone copied it, unfortunately. So, and you kind of have to if you have a continuity. You can't say, well, Peter Parker is aged 5 years. That necessarily means everyone else in the comics is aged 5 years.
this I all I do is just say said when Peter Parker was 15 and saying that Tony was like 20, 25, whatever,
Sure.
And yeah, so now Peter's in his early 20s, mid 20s. You can have an age up Tony because, like I said, you don't have to make Tony really the point where he's super old, but you can add a little gray to him. That's okay. And then freeze time there. Don't let him age any further, as they were doing Peter. Peter wasn't really aging. It wasn't until after Civil War, everything went to shit. Like I said, they didn't know what they're doing. They had all these people coming with different ideas. They lost what's his name? Straczynski, is he said fuck it after he said he had to write that garbage, for them, with killing off, their marriage stuff. He's like, I'm just done with this shit. He left. I don't blame him. He said he's like the worst experience I was. He's like, I had an idea where I was going, and they said no. This is what you got to write. Um, but yeah, it says they decided to basically then they did what was it? Renew Your Vows. So they give us a glimpse. Oh, remember that Spider Girl series we had? Well, yeah, fuck that. We're gonna give you this is what their child would be, if Peter and MJ wouldn't have basically did the whole one more day shit. If Peter wouldn't have basically made a deal with Mephisto. This is their daughter and stuff. And then they're like, then the first volume was okay. I was like, okay, this is kind of cool. It's a different pocket universe. And then they're like, oh, we're gonna give it to Jodie Hauser or whatever it was, and just totally ruined the whole entire series. It became like a mockumentary of the original Spider Girl series by Peter David. Yeah, it's just the whole thing. Uh, Overall, like I said, if you're reading what I'm reading right now, you go pick up an issue of this. It's nothing like that. It's like the X Men. Perfect example. You love that you were reading the X Men back in the day. You love that. You go to pick up today. It's like, what the hell am I reading here? It's like, dude, like I said, I just don't care for this. Now I know, and like I said, I'm getting to the point where Superman books, I don't even want to touch them unless they're back issues. Like you had Jerdway, you had Roger Stern, Dan Jurgens, all these guys, all these awesome writers, Marv Wolfman, John Byrne, and then it goes to everyone else. Like Philip Kennedy, meh, mid. Like it's just
Well,
like,
I'm not trying to play an
yeah,
advocate for him. I have not read these
no,
books.
no, no,
I
no,
just
no, no,
know
no.
that lots of
Zach's
people who
Zach's
are upset
yeah, Zach said he
are
likes it.
saying it's actually good, and so okay.
But then again,
There's
Zach's
things
never
I
read
don't
the
like.
book.
I don't like I said, this cover. I don't like the stupid fortress. Look, it's still in the Bermuda Triangle. Stupid. And second, I hate the super family. I'm looking up there
Like,
and like,
oh, it's Monel. There's like Jocasta in the middle between Supergirl and Steel.
yeah, like
Who the fuck is
just
that? Oh,
the,
it's his daughter. Steel's daughter. That's what it is. Why is Monel there?
I have no
Yeah,
idea.
that's not a character. I was so glad when they got rid of him.
Just
Like, keep him in Legion
the
or
whole idea
whatever.
of super family, dumb. There should be Clark
Oh,
and Jonathan. That's it.
wait, hold on. If you're gonna go super family, yeah, you just go back to what it was in the '70s. Those super family comic books, and
No,
you
I don't
have
want no,
the
no, no.
individual stories.
DC needs to stay away from the freaking 70s. Um, but yeah,
Rania, disagree or not? She loved the super family books.
well, I mean,
I thought
that was her era. I'm not trying to knock that. I'm just that was not a good time. Like DC was struggling because of that. The Silver Age, it aged out. Like people,
Silver Edge, yeah, it had a lot of because it was very hokey, a lot of stuff.
yeah,
True.
and
Uh,
and
but
but
my
Peter
my my, my point
Tomasi,
is,
his run
uh,
on Superman with Jonathan it's brilliant. It's one of the best runs of Superman. I think I've read a lot of great comic books. It stands toe to toe. Like it was a good flagship title. What DC was doing something really great. They were taking Superman very much like how when Peter and Mary Jane got married, and then how the direction of Spider-Man didn't change, but it was altered in in subtle ways that it added a lot of dimension
well,
to
yeah,
Spider-Man without fundamentally ruining what we knew about Spider-Man. Like we still got to keep the Spider-Man we loved
he's
with
able to
this new
avenge someone.
element.
Yeah, he's able to basically lean on someone.
Yeah, with Superman, with adding Jonathan Kent works so well in my opinion because it still got to keep Superman as Superman, but it added this element of him being a father to a child that was still learning things. When you read Tomasi's run, Jonathan Kent can't fly.
Oh,
He doesn't have any superpowers. He's just a boy. They don't even know if he's gonna have powers. And it's just
Yeah.
him trying to live with Lois and raise a kid and be a father. And it's this really great, wholesome story, which you should appreciate as a lover of the Clark Kent persona, the
Well,
identity.
no, I've read
He was
them.
Clark. Oh, okay.
I read them. Yeah, I read them. I said like, yeah, they're good, but like I said, it's like it was in a time and an era. It was like it was great for where they're out, and then they decided, with the. It almost feels like within like 3 years, 2 years the most, DC said, you know what, we can't do this anymore. It's just like nerf. It's like basically like imagine you're in the 90s, or just before the 90s came, grunge came. You're doing well in the charts, and like, oh, I'm a great hair band, and then here comes grunge. You're like, fuck, I'm done with. It's like it just got nerfed so hard. It's like and just like people, but the thing is that the great writers, that book, you the Death of Superman, the anniversary that came out, not the reprint, but the new story stuff took place was better than most of the stuff I've seen today with any of this stuff. I just got that whole post crisis feel again, and I said it's one of the reasons I've really decided I've been going through the post crisis, and I'll keep saying it because to me that is the best era. The way they cared about it, the way they built everything. It was like with Marvel, how they're building everything was connected, everything had a purpose. Now there's just look at all these people. Why? Who are these? Like the super twins?
Yeah, these
Say
new
Clark.
twins. It's like, oh, we're not gonna fix Jonathan being aged up. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna add two new young kids. This is the problem with DC that drives me bananas. This is why we have to constantly be killing off these characters because you can't. It's like it's like a rodent population that's just breeding, and like you have to come in and exterminate it because they just breed out of control.
I'm looking at this cover and I'm thinking, okay, maybe these are all from different parts of time. All different time periods.
No,
You know,
so
but if they're all together,
you've got Jonathan Kent.
that's Connor.
I thought, oh, maybe that's
Connor is
Connor.
that's
Who's this guy
yeah,
right here then?
that's Kal-El, a son, I guess, right? Or is it Mono? I
Maybe
don't
that's
know.
Mon-El. I'm not really familiar with Mon-El.
There might be Monel. There might be a Chinese Superboy over there.
So on the far right is the Chinese Superman,
Yeah, yeah.
and I
And then
think
we
in the
have
back you
Steel.
said that's Jocasta.
Steel's not. Yeah, not because I was making a joke, but
Oh, who's?
Shikasa is from Marvel.
Oh, that's
This
right.
is no, it's Steel's daughter.
Steele's daughter. What's her name?
I can't remember what her name is, but she's in currently in this Superman and Lois. They introduced her in there too. So they added her, but nowadays, yeah, now they just look at
Oh,
see
she's
Superboy.
Steele. She's of
Yeah,
course because
yeah.
everyone just assumes mantles. I hate that. Um, so
Well, it must be Was Pargos one of them? I guess. Okay, yeah. There's Clark Kent, John Kent, and Superboy. Okay, and yeah, there's four Superman.
yeah, so one of these
John.
is Jonathan. I think
Oh,
maybe this is
Jonathan just
Jonathan.
died. It's got to be Jonathan.
I don't know. They changed the
No.
costume, so they gave.
Well, his head shaved. That's the thing. Why is his head shaved?
I don't know, but we
But the
don't
far right one,
need a super family. Uh,
yeah.
every character in DC has a family now. There's a
I
Flash
want you to.
family, a Super family, a Bat family, a Wonder Woman family. Like, uh,
I
just
want you to clip this as a new video. Why we hate Superman today.
uh, yeah. I
But
just
Dan Jurgens writing on this too,
well, that's because
and Lee
this I
Willems.
believe is like a
Oh,
is this a big issue? No, it's
yeah,
1051. Never mind.
anthology. It's a new format.
Oh, that's right. Dan Jurgens is doing he's
Lois
doing
Clark #2. Doom Rising. Dan Jurgens Lee Weeks return to tell his tale. Young John Kent on the farm with his parents. Wait, young John learns
yeah.
about his abilities, coming of age, and battling Doombreaker. Finally, Power Girl returns as part one of a three-part story spinning out of the Lazarus planet. What? Young Jonathan Kent story by
Yeah.
Dan Jurgens.
Yep.
What? I'll have to borrow Zach's copy. Hey, look, they forgot the clay. They're bleeding in. So it happens when you try to use 3D paint and you paint the background and it bleeds into everything else. Superwoman looks so bad. Look at the bottom half. Uh,
Yeah, I don't really like this art style. Like who are these stupid kids? Just so stupid. Well, you're just adding trash, and then why does Steel have a grown up daughter? Like, why can't we just have Steel?
maybe she's not grown up. Maybe she's
She
just
looks
normal.
grown up.
Well, it all depends on the artist.
What she's not a little kid.
Well, and she's high school age in the show. I don't know, but she isn't here though. First of all, how does people who are Steel with a helmet on, how do they smile? Look, they all have
Oh,
the Chinese face.
I don't know. The
Oh,
Chinese Superman book was actually pretty good. Um,
and why did she wear a Superman jersey, football jersey, over her armor? That's the other thing that's so stupid.
I don't know.
I
Who
don't know, man.
knows? I just
Mar- yeah, Marania says that a lot of so-called silly stories were actually quite good and then had silly elements for the kids and deeper themes for the teen adults reading them. Talking about the Silver Age. And she'd rather read them over the majority of the dumpster fire crap being put out by the books by today. So basically, hey, look, Steel looks bigger than Superman does.
Steel's awesome, man. This guy's not used enough.
I know, John Henry.
But this girl could just give two shits about just quit adding.
Is her face exposed and she just painted
You
silver,
know what
or is
it's
she
like?
like?
It's like having a nice soda, like from McDonald's, a Coca-Cola from McDonald's, and it's really good, and you have ice in it, it's keeping it chilled for you. But it's been sitting for a little bit, and the ice melted, and it kind of diluted it down, and you're like, oh, but I like my soda chilled. So you go and you add more ice to it, and then that ice melts. And now it's like really diluted. And so you're like, oh man, it's getting warm. I need it to be cold. So you add more ice to it. That's what DC Comics is doing with these characters.
You villains and your ice and your soda. Ugh.
That's what it's like.
I just suck it down.
I was trying
Inhale
to
it.
draw an analogy, and you
I
shouldn't
know. I
have a
know.
soda sit around for three turns of ice to melt. But it just
I never get ice. It's already cold as you give
well,
it, so I don't
because
need
you
ice.
live in freaking Iceland,
Yeah, I do. Yeah,
not
yeah.
Iceland, ice space land,
Okay.
the land of ice.
Yeah, we got the herring up here too. Yeah, yeah. No, it's good.
Oh yeah, I forgot they're bringing back Blue Superman.
Oh, right.
Can't wait for that. Every
Maybe they're
every cover I see with
maybe,
these stupid kids makes me just
oh, you know
want
what it
to
is?
tear something up.
Maybe they're the daughter and son of the Chinese Superman.
No,
There's firepower and Superman
no,
combined.
no, it's not.
Look at the hairstyle. Look at the clothes they're wearing. He's got a ponytail. She's got a ponytail. I don't know, man. Flash had like legacy characters even in the Silver Age, even before Wally. They talked about his children growing up, his twins he's gonna have, and then Bart is the son of the daughter of Superman, or not Superman,
That's right.
but Flash.
Melania just
Yeah.
reminded me. It's John Kent is going to be Blue Superman.
Oh yeah, because he's progressive. Okay, cool. Now we can tell which one's the villain.
It's just so frustrating to see DC.
Just give him a. Hey, you know what? Put a blue check mark on him. We'll call him that. So, but I don't know. Like I said, I will see what Zach says about it. Then again, he won't be on this Thursday, so I'll have to wait till Friday. But if
Oh
anything,
well.
if I could, all I can say is this: if I could just take the Jan Jurgen story with young Jonathan Canada there, that's all I want. I'll give you $5.
Yeah, I'm
That's
kind of
all I
curious to see what he tells, to be honest.
because like he had a young Jonathan Kent story at the very beginning of that. I said that Superman talking about where Lois is telling basically Connor about how his dad was Doomsday and how his dad nearly died. And he's like, because he was so pissed at her because he's like young. He's like, why didn't you tell me? He had to learn it from a freaking high school teacher or middle school, whatever he's in. And she says like that was the worst day of my life, and your father doesn't like to talk about it, you know. And he comes to terms with it, he learns it about it. So it was actually a pretty good story.
Jurgens is pretty good.
Aliens, yeah.
Yeah,
Is
I
that
noticed this cover and I
I
immediately
saw
thought, wow, this feels like a rip off of something.
Yeah, Sigourney Weaver.
Right.
Yeah.
Hey, remember that time when they did the alien story where the female character she like rescues a little girl? Remember that? Remember that? I
What's under
remember.
what's that under Jean? Is that like a is that supposed to be ripped jeans or blood splats on her right leg there? One on the left, the one that's standing out. What is
Oh,
that?
from Aliens because they have the acid. I'm guessing that's like splash.
Oh, I thought it was like the Virgin Mary or something like that printed on. It's my signature.
It's just like, come on, like,
Hey, look who's writing it. Philip Kennedy Johnson.
yeah, he's been writing it from the beginning. I don't know anything much about him. Like I said, I'm not wasn't advocating at all for
What
the
else is he
Superman.
writing
I
though?
just everyone says is good, so
He was writing something else for another company. I think it's what he was. He was writing something. You have to click on it. What he is.
he did
And
actually write something that was good for DC a while back. It was like a fantasy story.
oh,
Yeah, this
James
The
Bond.
Last God.
I'm enjoying James Bond. So
Okay, well there you go. See, you like his stuff.
not all of it.
This where did it go? Last God. This is good. He did this for DC.
Last son of. Oh wait, can't. There's more gods now.
That was good. Good fantasy story.
Oh, it's nothing to do with DC Universe.
No, it was just a fantasy story.
Yeah.
It was a Black Label book. That's cool that his Bond book is good. Like I said, you said the Bond book's good. I read Last God, it was good. People said Action Comics is good, so I'm like, okay, I'll buy
Uh,
it.
all right.
But you're
Maybe
real
won't
picky.
buy it.
You just like post crisis. If it's not post crisis Superman, you don't want anything to
Can
do
you
with it.
blame me? It's like people like Kirby, Fantasy Four, and then you go to read outside, and you can tell just how bad it is. You know,
The hell is
especially
this?
when they change things. That's the hybrid queen.
What the hell is this? What the hell are you doing,
She's
Marvel?
she's the one queen that rules over all of them. You gave her a face. She's a hybrid.
What?
I don't know. I don't know, but I feel like we talk about Superman for the past hour.
I'm talking about aliens, but yeah, we can get going.
Now,
Maranya, thank you for hanging out and talking with us. I don't know if there's anyone else besides you, but thanks for being here. RDV, thank you for being here as always. You got a stream going on tomorrow?
tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Central. Top five. Talking about the Zach and I are going to go over the books this week. What we're excited about. What we think are going to be the best books of the week from our pull list. And then I guess tune in on Thursday. I'm thinking either 7 or 8 p.m. Central. All depends if Ingleton's streaming, but that's going to be the best comic of the week. And I'll probably be by myself. So probably like a 30-minute stream. So even if I just show off the books I got and do little reviews, you guys can just watch it on the replay. And have a happy Thanksgiving.
All right. Well, you have a happy Thanksgiving. If I don't see you, I
I'll,
probably will talk to
I'll
you
be
before then.
I'll be eating turkey in one hand and having my comic in the other hand. as I show them off on stream with turkey hands, grease everywhere.
I'm not doing
So
anything on Thanksgiving, so
I'll do a Doug Ernst.
I might be able to join you on your Thursday stream if you're doing something.
Oh, you're not. Oh, you're not doing it there on Thursday?
I'm not.
Okay,
Yeah. At
you're more
least
than welcome to join.
as of now, I don't have anything going on. So
I'm
we'll
happy
see.
that you don't have any plans.
Oh, thanks.
I know, right?
In a backhanded way. All right,
It
kiddos.
literally would just be me just going like, "Here's my 5 books of the week. Good night, guys."
All
Right?
right, kiddos. You guys all have a good night. Get lots of good food on Thanksgiving if I don't talk to you guys. And I'll see you in the back channels after it. Good night, everyone.
Later.